still deserve.
All right, everybody, hit that like. Getting started in just a minute. Come on, everybody. Yeah. Look out. We got live audio from the Trump trial. There it is. Can't argue with that. Right?
I don't know. I'm not good with that.
Well,
de-engineering.
me neither. All right, here we go. Let's get set. Let's get ready. What happens? What happens if I push this button?
Oh yeah, that's normal.
That's not good. What about this?
There goes Gigi.
Oh,
There goes Gigi.
then goes Gigi.
There goes Gigi. There goes Gigi. There goes Gigi.
What?
What?
I know.
I like wood.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am like an idiot. Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your...
Can't argue with that. All right, let's... One more thing. All right, let's get started. Come on now, let's just do this. There we are. Hi everybody, welcome to the show. Happy Tuesday. Hope it's going well for you. I had cupping earlier today, and my back looks like I lost a fight with an octopus, but it feels fantastic, and that's a good thing. Yes, there was the number of puns. I got to tell you, hi chat room. By the way, welcome to the show. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Patreon.com/HalSparks. Also, just giving the thumb like these lovely folks have done. See the like? It's free. It's easy. You can do it. Also, subscribing doesn't cost you anything. I'm just saying. Also, sharing the show out and letting people know. If you hit the like early, it lets people know in the algorithm that we're online right now, and it muscles me to the front of the YouTube Here's What's Live thing. Also on Facebook, it does it as well. And I gotta say, oh, you're caught in voice meter hell? Oh no, Carl, it's terrible. Is that because my voice is kind of a mix of quiet and loud? And I don't know if I speak like this. I should probably have more compression, wouldn't you think? On my let's see, there's got to be a compressor on this thing that I could give a little bit of love to. Yeah, okay, so it's there. It's attenuating me. It's just not doing any makeup gain. That's weird. It should be a little bit of makeup gain, shouldn't it? Just bring it into focus. If I just whisper a little bit like this, and then it does. Okay, that seems a little better. That's a little bit. Let's just 1.2 dB. To give it a little bit of life. And also, why is the threshold so low? What is going on with this crazy pants? Computery programs. I have to say, digital meters. Jerky thing to do to a person. Just saying. Okay, so hopefully that sounds okay. Sounds all right. Audio's all right. Just checking a couple of things because we've got a lot to talk about today. Clearly, while Joe Biden is making jokes at Donald Trump's expense, pretty great. He's actually campaigning in Florida while Trump was in court today. I just found that particularly hilarious. Will he win Florida? But it's a possibility. Is it likely? I don't know. We'll see. But at the rate Trump is turning people away from the voting booth, it's possible. It's possible there could be some psychotic sweep. Of course, that'll turn some of the maggots completely apoplectic and psycho. Hi, Aaron. Because they're gonna go, this is no way. He's so popular in my head, right? And they'll panic and, God forbid, hurt someone. That's my only real concern. I gotta say, that's my biggest concern is not that there's going to be a civil war, an uprising of any sort, or any of that shit. My biggest concern is that because there isn't, a bunch of his followers who have been believing his hype for a long time are going to do some awful shit. And that's always on my mind. And I don't know what's worse, that they're going to do it or that it will be like impotent rage bullshit at the same time. You know what I mean? It's not even going to change effectively, like the guy who lit himself on fire, changed absolutely nothing, just completely a ruffle in the news cycle and did himself in. My only concern is that some of the maggots will turn that outward, right? But we'll save that for another day. It'll be scattered at the very least, because a lot of these folks, by the way, are hedonists just like him and don't want to actually leave this planet, which is good. That's the upside. All right. Now, that said, speaking of kind of stupid, the Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan funding bills are going through, which are also got defense supplementals in them that are also required for, vet pay and all kinds of other stuff that are going through. And it's being argued in the Senate. Everybody's having their 5 minutes. But when they vote on it, it's going to pass. And basically, right now, what's been happening all day in the Senate about this is not a discussion about whether or not it's going to pass or not. It's, quite frankly, it is a bunch of, it's everybody talking about how it's important. And then a few, wannabe rogue types that are defending Putin who want to go on the record as to why they're doing it. Mike Lee, J.D. Vance, Rand Paul. It's like a little commercial for why they're voting no, even though it's an impotent vote, right? Instead of just standing up, for what they know is right, they just got to let Putin know that they're still on the team. They just couldn't stop it by their lonesome, right? So let me show you real quick before we jump into our regular bits today, if I may. Jump into your this is Tom Carper from Delaware. He's just finishing up his remarks, but this is listen to the top of J.D. Vance's comments and see if you had the same reaction that I did.
of President Zelensky when he said, you
see
are
if I
our
can-
hero.
Jump ahead. Yeah, here you go. All right.
With respect to my colleagues who voted in the other direction on this particular piece of legislation, let me offer some.
By the way, voted aye or voted yes. The other direction, there is no other direction. You are ice skating uphill. You are rowing upstream. You are going against the crowd only so you can go like steal from people leaving a hurricane. You know what I mean? It's not like you're just like a cop running towards danger. You're more like the guy who like waits till everybody evacuates and then rifles through everybody's personal belongings. That's the moral stand he's taking.
Serious concerns about the direction we're headed as a country and about what this vote represents in terms of American readiness, American capacity to defend itself and its allies in the future, and most importantly, the American leadership's ability to acknowledge where we really are as a country, our strengths, our weaknesses, what can be built upon. And
yes, we shouldn't be giving money to Ukraine because China has a bunch of fishing boats that they can hand a rifle to someone and automatically it's a battleship.
what must be rebuilt entirely. I am extraordinarily aware of
Your intellectual incapacity to deal with a serious issue. Go ahead.
couple of historical analogies that should inform this debate. One that seems to always inform the debate, and another that seems to never come up. Now, opponents of further aid in Ukraine, and I count myself among them, say that this is a Chamberlain versus Churchill kind of moment. And you just heard my distinguished colleague from Delaware make this observation. With no disrespect to my friend from Delaware, we need to come up with some different analogies in this.
No, we don't. This is a Chamberlain moment for you. Just because you don't like being Chamberlain in this situation doesn't mean the rest of us have to shift our description of you, fuckwad. Just saying. No.
This chamber. We need to be able to understand history as not just World War II replaying itself over and over and over again.
Okay, no one has said that. As a matter of fact, when it came to Iraq, when it came to, Afghanistan, when you talk about fucking dealing with ISIS in Syria, whatever, whether or not we should have gone into Rwanda, Kosovo, any of that stuff, nobody was using that as the primary example. This is just dumb. This is actually very close to World War II. Putin is taking on the Hitlerian position, which is hilarious, if that's a word, and it shouldn't be. I'm just saying. I'm sure in some quarters he hangs in. Hitlerious is a word that they use right after a gish gallop of racial pejoratives. But anyways, no, this is specific to this situation. You've got for fuck's sake, Russia is threatening Poland right now. Like, seriously.
Vladimir Putin is not Adolf Hitler.
Only because he's not a racial supremacist. He's a Ruskamir supremacist, which, when you boil it down to it, does not include the Chechens, Southern Georgians, a lot of other Europe. It's actually, yeah, he is. He's much closer. He's closer to Stalin in this situation, which, depending on who you were in World War II, was worse.
Doesn't mean he's a good guy, but he has significantly less capability than the German leader did in the late 1930s.
Yes, because say what you will about Hitler, but he had 6,000 nuclear warheads instead of 5. What the fuck are you talking about? Literally, can you imagine how different the world would be if Hitler had nukes at the beginning of that shit? How about this? What if the U.S. had talked Poland out of giving up their nukes and promised to protect them, and then he attacked them and we were like, I don't know, we'll see if we can get around to it, but I mean, the guy's got nukes.
America is not America of the late 1930s or the early 1940s.
Right. There's a lot more people of color in positions of power, and we've got, I don't know, we've had a bunch of women on the Supreme Court. Yeah, a vast improvement, I would say, as an American.
We are substantially, we possess substantially less manufacturing might in relative terms than we did almost 100 years ago.
Relative to what? Communist slave labor? What?
And most importantly,
All right, I have to say, I did not listen. Boston Brian, your ears and your eyes might start bleeding listening to this shit's description of World War II and America previous to World. Like, this is fucking goofy. I have not. This is. I'm shocked at how dumb this is. I didn't hear the beginning part of this. I heard the later part where he talks about Iraq, which is, I mean, I thought that was fucking stupid. This is amazing.
there are many ways in which the analogy falls apart, even if you ignore America's capacity, Russia's capacity, and the like. There are
No, it doesn't. The one-to-one capacity of the Europeans in general, the Allies against the Axis, was almost one-to-one. The only thing that guaranteed an upset in it was America was protected by an ocean, or we'd have been hit a lot earlier.
ways in which we should be looking at other historical analogies, and I'd like to point just a couple of those right now.
Okay, so Russia attacking Ukraine, not like World War II, except that it is. And it's a land grab resource. This is really our territory. The people that live there aren't actually our people, and they need to be wiped off the face of the fucking earth. And anybody who's confused about their identity, if they're not Russian, they're not anybody. Then like the one-to-one ease of comparison between this and Nazi bullshit. Put that aside, because Captain Fancy Pants here has a better analogy.
The Second World War, of course, was the most devastating war, arguably, in the history of the world. Close behind it.
No, it wasn't. You can only track the monetary aspect of it. When there were fewer people on the earth, wiping them out was a lot easier. What the damage the Mongolians did, for example, dwarfs in terms of body count and cultural annihilation what World War II was able to actually, implement in the world. And it was largely because the US and the UK and the good French ones were able to push back on it.
Is the First World War. And what is the lesson of the First World War? It's not that there are always people appeasing the bad guys or fighting against the bad guys. The lesson of World War I
is that we should have wiped out Hitler in the first place and never let Germany get its shoes back on. And that the Treaty of Versailles was a mistake and we shouldn't have trusted them. So in 91, when Russia fell, we should have bombed the fuck out of them while they were busy picking up the pieces. Brilliant.
is that if you're not careful, you can blunder yourself into a broader regional conflict that kills tens of millions of people, many
Yeah, that's what it was. Hitler blundered his way into it.
of them innocent. In 1914,
Obviously not the Jews in this conversation, but or gays or people who were crippled or mentally challenged or I don't know, shit, women who wouldn't put out. I guess you got to have more Germans.
alliances, politics, and the failure of statesmanship dragged two rival blocks of militaries into a catastrophic conflict.
Right, because somebody just wouldn't let Germany in this particular analogy, and would-be Russia just have what they wanted. If you'd just let them take that chunk of Poland, just muscle their way in, what would we be fighting about? The fighting's over. Let's go back to sleep.
In the past week alone, the Council on Foreign Relations has published an essay calling for European troops to sustain Ukraine's lines as Ukraine struggles to raise troops. Some European leaders have said they might send troops to support Ukraine in a conflict.
Gee, it's weird that they're talking about this. They weren't before, but largely because the biggest supporter of Ukraine was somehow holding back arms to them because of some pissing contest in the MAGA world.
Perhaps the history lesson we should be teaching ourselves
is just let Hitler win? Wouldn't the world have been better if you'd have just stayed out of it? Fucking America, and us. If you just let the Hitlers of the world win, then you got a buddy, you got a partner. Well, I mean, a portion of the American public has a partner. The rest of the Americans, of Jewish descent, or I don't know, non-German descent, I guess, can go fuck themselves. But
Isn't Chamberlain versus Churchill? Perhaps we should be asking ourselves how an entire continent, how an entire world's set of leaders allowed itself to blunder into world conflict.
they didn't. It wasn't a blunder. It's fucking amazing that this asshole thinks that there was like that the European leaders just didn't say fucking please at the right time, and that really set off that Hitler feller later on. Oh, buddy.
Is there possibly a diplomatic solution to the conflict in Ukraine?
Just like there would have been with Hitler. Just look, you can't kill all the Jews. How about just the ones in Europe? And what we'll do is we'll help reform Israel, and so we don't piss you off, we'll just, as soon as it's formed, we won't support them at all, and we'll let the Egyptians and the Jordanians and Transjordanians at the time or whatever, and of course the Lebanese, just murder them all down there. See, I mean, we're helping you outsource some of that genocide to somebody else.
Yes, I believe that there is. Indeed, as multiple people, both critics of Vladimir Putin and supporters of Ukraine have pointed out, there was in fact a peace deal on the table approximately 18 months ago, and what happened to it? The Biden administration pushed Zelensky to set aside the peace agreement and to engage in a disastrous counteroffensive.
No. By the way, this is the kind of narrative you get from watching the Glenn Becks of the world, not from reading the actual paperwork. I don't know if he's on any of the committees that have access to this shit, but he's talking out of his ass. And interestingly enough, he's selling this talking point, which they were jumping around with last year, but specifically in the last couple of weeks, we found out exactly why both Boris Johnson and the U.S. Embassy and I guess Blinken at the time told the Ukrainians, like, this is a rope-a-dope, and here's how we can prove it. And you didn't believe us when we said they were going to attack, and they did. And this is just garbage. He's just pretending this is real. It's nonsense.
A counteroffensive that killed thousands, tens of thousands of Ukrainians, that depleted
and hundreds of thousands of Russians.
Entire decades worth of military stocks, and has left us in the place that we are now, where every single objective observer of the Ukraine war acknowledges today that the war is going worse for Ukraine than it was 18 months ago.
Right, because of the last 3 months where you guys have been holding back the arms they need to protect themselves. We know. Motherfucker, you can't trip somebody and say they're no longer, in first place in the fucking marathon. Especially when you're cradling the balls of Putin in your mouth as he runs.
Could we have avoided it? Yes, we could, Mr. President.
Yes, we could have avoided it by letting them have the arms we're giving them now a long time ago.
We should have avoided it. We would have saved a lot of lives.
Russian lives.
Would have saved a lot of American weapons, and
would have saved a lot of American weapons. I mean, is it a weapon if it's unused? Honestly. I mean, a gun that's unused is a tent pole, isn't it?
Would have had this country in a much, much more stable and much better place if
much more stable with Russian leadership instead of all this back and forth about who killed who, and then of course in a much better position for you as somebody who got a bunch of NRA funding that came straight from the Kremlin.
We had. Now, there's another historical analogy that I think that's worth pointing out.
Oh boy.
And that is the historical analogy of the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the part where Iraq attacked Afghanistan? I don't know.
Now, in 2003, I was a high school senior.
And you haven't learned anything since.
And I had a political position back then. I believed
You did? As a high school senior?
the propaganda of the George W. Bush administration that we needed to invade Iraq.
Yeah, that sounds like what a high school student in Ohio in your particular district that grew up in a Republican household would think. The rest of us were saying, fuck this. The vast majority of Americans were like, are you out of your this is ridiculous. Like yellow cake and all that bullshit was a fucking meme almost as fast as Colin Powell said it. And the idea, by the way, if he's going to use this as an example of, I bought the government's bullshit then, that somehow, you know, Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. So what, am I supposed to believe them that Russia attacked Ukraine?
That it was a war for freedom and democracy. That those who were
Yeah. For the record, Saddam Hussein and Uday and Qusay and all the fuckwads that ran the top of that government were not trying to implement democracy, and somebody was pushing back against it. That's why we all knew it was bullshit. The Ukrainians are already a democracy, you dumb
appeasing Saddam Hussein, we're inviting a broader regional conflict. Does that sound familiar to anything that we're hearing today?
No, not at all. Because the weird thing about it, you fucking twit, is that Saddam Hussein didn't attack us on 9/11 and didn't attack any other countries in that period of time. It had nothing to fucking do with it. If the argument was, why are we bombing Russia right now? Us. Why do we have troops on the ground in Kaliningrad or in fucking St. Petersburg? And because some bullshit that we thought Putin was going to launch a new version of COVID or some shit like that, then you would have a one-to-one. Putin attacked Ukraine. We're not even in fucking Ukraine. We went to Iraq. Shock and awe, ain't it? Like, Jesus Christ, this is the worst analogy you could possibly fucking make. This is stunningly dumb.
It's the same exact talking points.
No, it is not. It's not at all. What? We were fighting Iraq in Iraq, apropos of fucking nothing. And while you were in high school making a decision politically to support bullshit because you were just as dumb then as you are now, the fuck does that have to do with the rest of us, and the fact that you were like in a cry wolf? All right, in a cry wolf scenario, this dumb motherfucker. We were saying that in the case of Iraq, that's crying wolf. In the tale of the boy who cried wolf, there's eventually a real wolf, and no one comes. Everybody just, and the wolf fucking eats him. That's in that order. It's a terrible story, the original. I mean, the brothers Grimm were indeed grim. That's where we get the word from. And this motherfucker does not realize that he's part of the village right there who's saying he always cries wolf. It's not real. Because and again, it's not even the same fucking boy. That's weird part. For this story you do not need to read that story again. It's terrible, especially the original version. And the illustrated version, horrifying. In this analogy, for it to work, in The Boy Who Cried Wolf, it'd have to be a different fucking boy. That this motherfucker, 20 years apart, heard a boy cry wolf and said it wasn't a real wolf. And 20 years later, another boy, who if he was the same boy, would have a much deeper voice now, hears a new child screaming wolf and goes, fucking kids always cry wolf. It's not even the same government. It's not the same people. It's not the same leadership. Joe Biden is not George W. Bush. God damn, this is dumb.
20 years later with different names.
And a different situation, and different guns, and a different circumstance, and a different person attacking, and we're not in there, and we're not arguing weapons of mass destruction because we fucking know Russia has them.
But have we learned anything over the last 20 years? No.
No, you have not. You have not. You are still that stupid high school student who believes your dad's bullshit while he's screaming at the television. Motherfucker.
Well, I don't think that we have.
You haven't. Don't drag us into your personal hell, dipshit.
We have learned that if we beat our chest instead of engage in diplomacy, that it will somehow produce good outcomes.
Beat our chest? Motherfucker, we're not beating our chest. We're giving the other gorillas bigger fucking sticks so they don't have to just beat their chest and hope the other one, the rival runs away. Why am I even bothering with these analogies?
That is not true. We learned that if we talk incessantly about World War II, we can bully people and cause them to ignore their basic moral impulses.
Or if you use an unsound analogy of another conflict to try and make people, shy away from helping people who absolutely deserve it, you can be morally reprehensible and be more Chamberlain-like by the minute. That's the irony, that this motherfucker is arguing the same thing Chamberlain argued. Why don't we just talk to Hitler? If we'd have talked this guy down, if we'd have just let him off easy, Chamberlain acquiesced to what he wanted and gave them time to rebuild and extend the Nazi plan.
And lead the country straight into catastrophic conflict.
We're not in catastrophic conflict, dumbass. And we won't be if the Ukrainians can drive out the Russians by themselves.
Now, it's one of the great ironies of my time in the United States Senate for the last...
That you have to, I don't know, how old do you have to be to be a senator? I think it's just 18, right? I think it doesn't matter. You can be the youngest senator ever. That if you'd have been elected to the Senate right out of high school, you'd be saying the same stupid shit you're saying right now.
Last 18 months, I've been accused by multiple people of being a stooge of Vladimir Putin.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, they're being nice to you. I mean that. They are literally being nice to you because stooge means you're a useful idiot is what they're doing. They don't realize you're doing it on purpose, that you actually fucking like him.
Well, I take issue to that because...
because my fundraising depends on it.
In 2003, yes, I made the mistake of supporting the Iraq War. I also, a couple months later, enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. One of two kids from my small block on McKinley Street in Middletown, Ohio, to enlist in the Marines just that year.
Okay.
I served my country honorably.
Great. Thank you for your service.
And I saw when I went to Iraq that I had been lied to.
No, you didn't. First of all, you can't prove a negative. And the idea that this asshole went straight to Iraq and looked around and went, I don't see any fucking yellow cakes anywhere, is garbage. He might have realized it later, but the idea that he's walking around in a situation deployed wherever he was as a Marine, watching the green zone or doing whatever the fuck he was doing, no.
That the promises of the foreign policy establishment of this country
is a different foreign policy establishment than it was back then, and that the people serving now were elected after that, and that people, you do realize we don't fight our wars like we did in the Civil War, but we had a foreign policy establishment even when we fought amongst ourselves.
Were a complete joke. Just a few days ago, we saw our friends in the House waving Ukrainian flags
in support
on the floor of the United States House.
Right. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've seen, and don't tell anybody, but I've seen Republican senators and House members with Israeli flag pins on their lapels, apparently to show some sort of support. I don't know. It's just weird. Have you ever seen that? They shouldn't be able to do that. Now, I notice you're not wearing an American flag pin at all. Remember when that was a big talking point? Remember when, how dare you be on the, speaking on the House or Senate floor without your American flag pin? And here, look at this, it's weird.
I'd love to see them waving the American flags with such gusto. And I won't complain about the fact that it was a violation of the rules of decorum, though it certainly was. That's
your big argument? That people who are worried about the civilians being slaughtered by Russia in Ukraine finally passed support for them so that fewer of them have to die. And they were like, this is an ally. Waving the flag of an ally in support is not pledging allegiance to it, you fucking tinderbox of an idiot.
But it reminded me, and I believe 2005, maybe it was 2006.
Right, when Bush was in office. And you were serving in Iraq, which is just like now, where anybody who signs up for the Marines right now is being sent to Ukraine right to the...
When that same exact chamber, the members were raising their fingers, stained with purple ink, to commemorate the incredible Iraqi elections that had happened in 2005. I was in Iraq.
Real quick, say what you will about the Bush bullshit in Iraq and all that other stuff. And there's a reason to, to get kind of drill deep about the weapons of mass destruction, of which there were a lot. They're in the chemical weapons and stuff. They used them, again, against Iran in their war. So they knew they still had them because fucking members of the Bush administration had been, Rumsfeld in particular, providing them with those chemical weapons in their private life before they were, during a time when they were no longer in government. But the election part of it, where there was no more Saddam Hussein, and now the people of Iraq were able to choose their leaders, that is a better thing. It's a bad thing to hammer on. It's just dumb.
For both the constitutional referendum of October of 2005 and the parliamentary elections of December 2005. And I remember the people in Iraq happily voting, raising their fingers in the air. What I'm saying is not that the people of Iraq were bad, or that
you kind of are.
That they were bad for voting in their elections. What I'm saying is the obsessive focus on moralism. Democracy is good. Saddam Hussein is bad.
That's not an obsession. That's just empirically true, fuckhead.
America good. Tyranny bad.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. Again, I don't know that that's an obsessive thought any more than I obsess about gravity or the color of the sky during certain parts of the day. But listen to this dumb motherfucker. What? Yes. Fire good. Fire is our friend. Wah!
That is no way to run a foreign policy, because
well, it kind of is. I mean, I don't want my foreign policy establishment welcoming tyranny, and I certainly don't want them being okay with, like, in the United States, like, in the influence of people like Saddam Hussein and Uday and Qusay, right? I don't want, call me crazy, the Taliban going to Camp David. I'm just saying.
Then you end up with people waving their fingers on the floor of the United States House of Representatives, even though they have walked their country into a disaster.
No, I mean, a lot of the people, by the way, who were holding their finger up in support were, a good portion of them were against the actual attack, but they were, they did celebrate some of the good things that might come from it. The silver linings, as it were. Good Lord.
And I say this as a proud Republican.
And yes, that was a Young Frankenstein reference. Yeah.
And I say this as somebody who supports Republican colleagues who agree with me and disagree with me on this issue.
I just don't support Ukrainians, and I do support Vladimir Putin, because tyranny is not bad. Let me just, as J.D. Vance of Ohio, let me make this abundantly clear. Tyranny, A-OK.
It's perhaps the most shameful period in the Republican Party's history of the last 40 years.
Well, okay, at least he didn't go back to, their switch to pro-slavery, mid-century.
That we supported George W. Bush in the prosecution of that military conflict. Now,
yeah, and the people who didn't supported the movements towards democracy that the Iraqi people came to. But you want to vote for the guy who says we should go into Iraq now and take the oil, that we will go into Venezuela and take their oil. What the fuck?
Now, my excuse is that I was a high school senior.
Right, but I don't know. You're just as dumb now.
What is the excuse of many people who were in this chamber or in the House of Representatives at the time and are now singing the exact same song when it comes to Ukraine?
Well, I would say in that case, you're talking about different human beings because you're talking about groups of people who kind of, back and forth. Secondarily, you're talking about your party then and my party now, and the people, my party are happy when actual democracy is being protected, and your party is happy when you try to manufacture or use the American people's love of democracy as an excuse to attack an oil-rich country. I would argue that's the difference. You notice how he just kind of like vacillates between who the people are that are cheering?
Have we learned nothing? Have we updated nothing?
No, you have not. You have not. You haven't learned shit.
Nothing about our mental thinking,
Our mental motherfucker.
about the standard that we apply for when we should get involved in military conflicts.
I would like to say for the record, we should have gotten involved in Rwanda, and we should be doing more in Sudan. Just for the record, if I could enter into something where there's a situation where the American military and could join together with a coalition of other militaries in the world that are fighting for peace in the world and show up there, that would be good. I would think forcing a draw between the RSF and the Sudanese military right now, maybe.
Have we learned nothing about how precarious and precious U.S. life is and other life around the world, and that we should be a little bit more careful about?
About what? Stopping Putin from murdering Ukrainians?
Protecting it. Back then, in 2003, we actually had an anti-war left in this country. Now, nobody really is anti-war. Nobody.
Okay, real quick. Even the anti-war, quote-unquote, left around Vietnam was not anti-war because they were on the left. They were anti-war because they saw the Vietnam War specifically as contrary to our national interests, and a lot of our soldiers were dying there for, no good reason. How do you ask someone to be the last person to die for a lie? Famously, John Kerry's line, right? Good Lord, this guy's dumb.
Worried about prosecuting military conflicts overseas. Nobody seems to worry about unintended consequences. But
no. First of all, I don't really worry. Sorry. We have following only chat. This is what Boston Rising. We shouldn't be. Is that on Twitch? Oh, sorry. We shouldn't be a follower only. I don't even do that. What happened? What happened? Sorry, Twitch people. I will see if I can fix the thing in there. Stop. Don't go there. Log in. Here we go. And see if I can do this. And it's going to ask me if I want to. Okay, what's that? And hopefully it will give me. I might have to see what my phone says in a moment. It's annoying. Sorry about that. But following on Twitch doesn't cost you anything. Just subscribing does. So sorry about that. It's not Twitch? Okay. Should be all right. Your follower only for your past record. That's weird. Oh, I see. Gotcha. Oh, maybe he's watching the old one. I don't know. That's weird. No, he's watching this one. I don't know. It might be a glitch on their end. Twitch glitch. All right.
Iraq had a lot of unintended consequences.
I see you, Boston Brian.
A lot of consequences that were maybe foreseen by a few smart people, a lot of them that weren't foreseen by anybody. One of which is that we gave Iran a regional ally instead of a regional competitor. Did George W. Bush stand before the American people and say, we're going to invade this country and give one of our strongest enemies in the region a massive regional ally? Did we think that...
Also, what the fuck does this have to do with Ukraine? At all? I will say there's one element to this, and I'm kind of done with him right now. I'll just say, I think there is one element to what he's saying, because this is just fucking blazingly stupid. Holy shit. But there is one aspect of him bringing that up that I find kind of fascinating, and it's primarily that he's making the case that, how Iraq is in the hands of Iran right now, that it's not Biden's fault. That it was the process of the Iraq war that created that situation, and so he can't blame either Obama and Biden together or Biden by himself, because he certainly doesn't want to blame Trump, because in that window he didn't do shit about it either. So I guess maybe he's accidentally let him off the hook. I don't know. It's just fucking stupid. Anyways, it will pass. I would like to say, for the record, that just like I said it would before, it will pass this time, and period, end of story. Just to clarify, if I may. Yes, Boston Brian was on Twitch. I saw him there. Response from Dems. Like, honestly, they don't respond to him. They just respond to the worth of the bill. Because I got to say, it's, I mean, a couple of them might remark about him, but the whole thing is most people are talking about how necessary it is. Including, by the way, like McConnell, Chuck Grassley, like the majority of the anti-Ukraine, pro-Russian crowd. I mean, there's like only 3 of them. Even the ones that stand up and do it, half of them are like, we need this now because these things are made in my district. I mean, even Grassley's like, the howitzer shells that are made in Iowa are the best in the world. Like, he's acting like they're fucking apples they grow. So, like I said, it's showboating. That's exactly right, Stagmus9. That is exactly it. Ugh. It's just, what a... Oh, God. Just hideous. Now, I want to find... let's see. Trump walking out. Where is it? Okay, this is... Today? Is this...
About collateral security.
Okay, is this... Yeah, I just want to make sure this... Oh, so this is on a loop, I see. Hold on. These assholes play him on a loop. And then he leaves, and then he comes in. And I think they... Yeah, I'll find the... Let's see. Just making sure. Today... anyways, thank you guys. Hit that like while I'm looking this up real quick, because I want to get the most sort of recent. Also, can we? All right, jump into this too. Real quick, and I'll probably get a strike for this. Oh dear. Okay, so.
Great show for tonight. Rusty will be joining us later.
Simon Rusty.
Before
Okay.
that, it's a big day for Donald Trump. Huge. His campaign for president was interrupted today by the trial about the other time that he had tried to run for president. Look, let's just check in another installment of America's Most Tremendously Wanted.
So, yeah.
After a week of jury selection, today it was finally time for opening statements, and it turns out the prosecution and the defense do not see eye to eye.
The prosecution arguing that Trump's alleged scheme to keep an...
Okay, now, yeah, I'm going to get in trouble. I can't play this. They'll copyright strike me. If I may, John, real quick. First of all, I don't want it, like, the sort of generalized idea of the bit around this is that we're spending too much time looking at this. That Trump is eating up too much bandwidth in the news cycle or what have you, because they're covering the fact that a president is on trial for the first time ever. And it's a salacious trial, which everybody would tune in, even if he was just the former host of the fucking... If it was just from him being on The Apprentice, right? Yeah. So, for the record, John left right before the 2016 election. He bagged out right before it. I know Boston Brian, but I don't trust them because they have music and cues and all kinds of other shit. But I don't have to play the whole bit because you guys can watch it if you want to. And again, I know John, in passing because of he got the Daily Show right as I was getting Talk Soup, so we met at a bunch of events around that kind of shit. And he left right before the election. He was like, "I'm out. This is too, whatever." And right when I think his comedic take would have had a lot of value against someone like Donald Trump. And it was very odd that he bugged out then. Right? Throw a monkey wrench in that. It was right when everybody was talking about how important people are getting more of their news from comedians than ever, right? And he split right then. And instead of writing it out and splitting after the election, which he would have been so valuable. And I have a hard time forgiving him for that. And when he popped right back in recently and started hosting the show, and right out of the gate did this kind of like both guys are old bit, and then has been following it up with this, why are we paying attention to this bullshit? This trial is not important. That's fucked up. And primarily, I'll tell you why. Because this is not a hush money case. This is an election interference case. And we're finding out, as the days go on in this case, that what's actually on trial is the fact that Donald Trump was guilty of what he has been accusing Biden of doing right now in the first election. And the only reason we didn't, because he won, because he dodged a bunch of bullets when he should have been catching, satirical incoming. And one of those reasons was because The Daily Show was just kind of in flux. Nobody cared. And now he rolls in and is kind of whatabouting this whole shit and shrugging it off. No. I wish him happy on his goat farm, his happiness on his goat farm. But I got to say, considering what the 2016 election did to women's rights, and that we needed all voices, not just mine and the people around me and Stephanie Miller and stuff, trying to tell everybody that had he been on the air and chosen to show the Chris Matthews clip where Trump said he would punish, that there should be a punishment for the women. Had John been on at that time, that could have tipped the scales by its fucking self. Not by him mocking Trump or even it being a comedic thing, but just the reach of that program. Yeah, and now it's, I don't know, they're halfway in between. What's the difference? There's a lot of fucking difference, especially if you're a woman, or you give a shit about women, or you believe in gay rights, or you believe in minority rights, or you believe in a real asylum system, and the difference between that and everybody just being illegal because fuck these people, whatever. If you actually care about those things, you keep at it. Imagine if you would, if I've been doing this show, building this up, and we have a great audience, and it's really terrific, and I feel like I'm providing a service on the show and giving a perspective on things, showing stuff like I did with the what are the odds yesterday and those kind of things, and letting people know these pieces of information that will inform them as voters, make them care and recognize the threat that Donald Trump and his ilk pose. And I just decided in June to go, fuck it, I don't care. It doesn't really matter anymore. Like, I'd be, that would be a violation of my morals as a human being. Right? Just cause. This is not me getting shut down by the networks. This is not me being fired by, Comedy Central or E or anything like that. Just fucking left. And then to roll back in now in an election year, work one day a week like he's fucking Rachel Maddow, who hammered this shit out the entire time, and then just kind of go, I don't know, they're both kind of crazy. And should we even pay attention to the fact that Donald Trump rigged the fucking election using the press with David Pecker and all that? Like, never mind the fucking softball comedy that comes out of this, but the reality of the fact that he was doing this, because the story is not necessarily that Trump was basically, he won the primary by having David Pecker at the Inquirer run shit stories against his rivals to guarantee him a jockey point that he didn't deserve. It's the fact that he used these stories to affect women's lives, and then he came in and scuttled their rights. He cheated on his fucking wife while she was home with their 5-month-old, and then he made up stories about fucking Ted Cruz and others to try and get women to turn on them and to cover for the Access Hollywood tape that came out so that he could get in there and put in judges that would eliminate a woman's right to choose. I joke about this motherfucker because I take him seriously. Other than that, I have no opinion. So, John, in all deference to your charm and your beloved status amongst our comedic kin, fuck you, buddy. Fuck you. Knock it the fuck off. I don't want to hear any more bits about Biden being old or we shouldn't be paying attention to the Trump trial because it's just a bunch of media fluff until you do a bit about why you quit the year that the first woman who could have been president was running against a pussy-grabbing, adjudicated rapist and fraud who had been lying to his donors and lying to his supporters and lying about all the other Republicans that were fucking running. Why'd you bug the fuck out? Tell me a story about your goddamn ripcord on that you were like, nah, now's the time to let this motherfucker pass. Because as a comedian, when you're dealing with a narcissist wannabe like Donald Trump, the guardians of the gate are the people who will make fun of that motherfucker because he doesn't care about actual anger. He cares about people being able to make fun of him. And the fact that John stepped down specifically in that window is an unforgivable act. And I would have been willing to forgive him if he just kind of retired into it. But it's so fucking weird that he drops out in that election. I guess what? Sees what happened in 2020 and decides to come to the rescue of Trump right now? No. I'm going to need a big fucking mea culpa. Because it's a dick move. It's gross. Apparently, I did have more to say. All right. So there, just saying that. I just because that bugs the living shit out of me, and it has for a long time. It's like, I mean, at this point, Greg Gutfeld and John Stewart are on the same team. Soften the blow of jokes against Donald Trump and hammer Biden. With the youth, essentially. Although nobody watches Gutfeld, but you know what I mean. Ugh. Now, back to other people that I hate with no caveats. This is Jesse Waters. Now, let me tell you this, if I might. This guy is so fucking upset about the Trump trial, it's odd. There are a bunch of people who are mad about this, right? But they're mad about it in kind of a loose, I don't know, party on party kind of a thing. Like, this shouldn't be happening and blah, like almost in the generic sense. Jesse Waters is taking this personally. And so it makes you kind of wonder if he's got kind of a, maybe a Cohen fixer type, on retainer, and he's worried that this shit will come up later and you can't trust people who sign NDAs. Yeah. Somebody said Mehdi Hassan's been disappointing lately. I don't know why, but he blocked me like 2 years ago. No idea why. Seemed a weird move for the dude because I can't remember saying anything in particular that would make him, because I wasn't responding to anything that I'm aware of. It was just odd. Yeah. John, somebody just said John focuses on hypocrisy. John is being hypocritical right now. John's a hypocrite for coming back in this election year and both siding this shit after tapping out before a woman could have been president. Nope. Okay. Anyways, back to Stretch Ben Shapiro.
Torture. Democrats used to be obsessed.
Okay. So Trump, what? Is this going to be on Trump? We're putting him in stress positions. This is Trump's Abu Ghraib. This is that where we're going?
During the war on terror, they talked about torture more than victory.
Well, in their defense, there was more of it. Just saying, there was a lot more torture than there was victory.
Gitmo. The New York Times in 2005 said, please, Mr. President, just shut it down.
Uh-huh.
They told us it was immoral. Dick Durbin, he called American soldiers Nazis.
If I read this to you and didn't tell you that it was an FBI agent describing what Americans had done to prisoners in their control, you would most certainly believe this must have happened by Nazis, Soviets in their gulags.
Right, because he's talking about the behavior. He's not calling them that. He's saying, if you read this about the behavior, but whatever. I'm waiting for this is the setup, obviously. So Trump, isn't being allowed to golf and grope his assistants because he's got to sit in a court and people are looking at him?
Or some mad regime, Pol Pot or others, that had no concern for human beings.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, if we looked at the people who are nude and having dogs sicked on them, or they were standing on boxes in stress positions with electrodes attached to their genitals. Yeah, I think a lot of us would assume that. That's why it's illegal in our country. That's why we didn't justify it. That's why by the way, you're showing a Democrat who's against it, but okay.
Sadly, that's not the case. This was the action of Americans in treatment of their own prisoners.
Terrorists were victimized by...
No, real quick. These were not terrorists. They had not been tried as terrorists. We didn't know they were terrorists. Some people were just picked up in the theater of war in Iraq or something like that, assumed to be part of this or had intel against them, and some of it didn't turn out to be true. Some of it was, but some of it wasn't, and that was the point. That's why there was no adjudication for them at all.
American Nazis. Oh,
no. The behavior of Nazis, which is Americans should be above it. These aren't American Nazis because they weren't ordered to do it and they didn't follow through with it on purpose. That was the point.
Obama even built them $1 million soccer field.
$1 million on a soccer field?
Well, I got news for you. It's not because they put in AstroTurf, fuckwad. It's because the security around that has to be pretty good. I'm just saying, what do you think? $65,000 to bulldoze the place, and the rest of it went to fencing?
How do you spend $1 million doing the soccer field?
I don't know. Here's the thing. If you ever win the presidency, look it up. Oh, that's what they spent it on. Oh, I can see that. Yeah, so you needed like thermal scanners in case they tried to, they were out, and you needed 2 layers of fencing, and then you had to pay for the guards, and it's, you had to create salary for the guards that watch the soccer field when they use it, and it's an exercise space and that kind of stuff, and you might, they have to have food.
You have a level piece of land. Throw them a ball, let them play soccer.
Yeah, and then if you need to go have a smoke, they promise to stay put.
They have to play at all. Why are they playing soccer is my question.
Because you have to give them some point of exercise, and there isn't enough physical space to build a gymnasium in there for them, so they decided to do something outside that let them do more than walk or move around, because we're human beings, and none of them had been found guilty of being terrorists. And so technically, while we were holding them, and we were aware that a lot of them were actual terrorists and the like, because of that not guilty yet part of it, we had a behavior standard that we had to live up to.
Democrats gave terrorists soccer fields.
Yeah, and a lot of razor wire and chain link fence and lights, and I noticed, what do you make it look like there are stands around it? This is literally an isolated piece. It's an exercise yard.
It's free.
By the way, it is an exercise yard with a track around it that they played soccer in. They got a soccer ball. All of a sudden, it was a soccer field. I don't see a goal. Do you? Let's look at all the things that are missing from a soccer field in this situation. How about lines? There's no midfield line. All I see is brown grass and a running track and a big open space that is lit up and surrounded by razor wire that, I mean, is it a tennis court too? Is it a basketball court? Who needs a hoop to play basketball?
Lawyers, constitutional rights. Eric Holder's law firm flew down to Gitmo to represent Al-Qaeda pro bono.
No, represent the people that were there pro bono, but had not, again, they were not guilty yet. That's kind of the point.
Are you getting enough time to pray? Is the food halal? Were the guards mean to you?
Yes, all these things that if at some point you're found to be innocent, we can say we did everything right. Specifically, you know, we treated you like a human while you were here, and even though we considered you a threat at the time, when we release you, you weren't tortured all the time, and that's a big part of this. So yes. Also, by the way, if Trump gets a golf course this big in prison, I'm going to be pissed.
If you answer the judge's questions correctly, you'll be on your way back to Jalalabad. But today, the former president of the United States, if he leaves court to go to the restroom, jail.
That's not true.
If he calls the prosecutor corrupt, jail.
No, it's a fine. He's already said the prosecutor's corrupt multiple times, and he's not in jail. I mean, he's in his petting zoo, but he's not in jail. Unless you know something I don't. Please tell me, Jesse Waters, that you're breaking news that Trump is in jail right now, so we can all pop champagne and jump around. I don't drink, but I think that sparkling apple cider in the fridge.
If Trump moves or says anything, they scream jail.
No, I think if he moves or says anything, most people just cover their nose. Because if he moves, it's probably because he's shitting himself. I'm just saying.
Did Khalid Sheikh Mohammed get slapped with a gag order?
Did Khalid Sheikh Mohammed get to speak to the press every day before and after court? What are you talking about?
Trump's not even allowed to complain about the thermostat.
He did complain about the thermostat. He literally did. He's allowed. He can bitch about the thermostat, and he did bitch about it. He could also wear a coat, I think.
It's a meat locker in there.
I don't hear that from anybody else except him.
He gets mocked for just closing his eyes.
No, a lot of people close their eyes. It's called blinking. He gets mocked because he fell asleep and farted. I'm just saying, there's a huge difference between, and if you don't believe me, Jesse, tell you what, you sit next to him when he falls asleep. And suddenly, if you become a proponent of mask wearing again, I'm going to be very upset.
Donald Trump, been on the move his whole life.
He doesn't look like he's been on the move his whole life.
Golf, rallies, movement, action, sunlight.
Yeah, action, sliding across car hoods, firing double guns while leaping through the air. Well, not really, riding a golf cart, yeah.
Fresh air, freedom.
Yeah, I guess sucks to be a criminal.
This isn't lawfare, it's torture.
What? Yeah, that's the problem with due process. It's torture.
They're making a 77-year-old man sit inside a dingy room for 8 hours straight.
No, his actions made him do that. This is, I gotta say, again, this is oddly personal. And this is what this is for real, Stephen. He's making the argument that this is cruel and unusual punishment because this guy has to go like everybody else and sit through a trial. He does realize that, like, the I-5 killer and the Golden State killer and the Green River killer and all these people, they were old. They sat through their cases months and fucking months.
4 days a week. And if he moves
4 days, a 4-day work, he has to be in one place 8 hours a day, 4 days a week. Truly a man of the people. This is torture. You mean the sort of job situation most people fucking have? That's torture to him? Torture, yes. In Jesse Waters' mind, torture for Donald Trump is that Trump is being treated like a regular person. Dear God, say it isn't so.
Moves or talks, jail.
No, he moved and talked a lot. I think it's called the one cheek sneak. And also, No defendant's allowed to talk in court, stupid. And he did talk in court. He didn't go to jail. The judge admonished him, told him to keep it down, and he did.
How do you campaign for president if you can't move or talk?
I don't know. Why are you campaigning for president if you're a fucking adjudicated rapist? I mean, how have you not been kicked to the curb by your fucking party for screwing their chances in the next election by destroying Roe v. Wade after lying about not doing it?
I should be in Georgia now.
Looking for those 11,780 votes?
I should be in Florida now. I should be in a lot of different places right now.
Okay.
Now campaigning, and I'm sitting here.
Right, I guess, but you should have just taken your lumps when you ran the first time and run on the merits and not cheated your fellow nominees in the Republican side and paid to cover up stories when you were running in general. So, yeah.
And this will go on for a long time. It's very unfair. And
Take a plea. Take a plea. Act like you're settling a case. You know, no jail time, probation, right? Pay a fine, take a plea, and bitch about the plea afterwards. They've already tried you, right? You can't be tried again. If you take a plea and you go, fuck these guys, I took their plea, but I don't care. Kappa. That can't be you can't limit free speech based on, I guess, when the trial is over.
I should be allowed to campaign.
You are campaigning. This is a campaign.
And whoever heard of this? You got indicted for that?
No, you don't. You didn't get indicted for campaigning. You got indicted for shuffling money around to hide an affair from the electorate during the election, which was a federal crime. And the state's part of it is your falsification of bank records to hide those payments, which is still a crime, even if the feds don't charge you for the other crime. In the same way that if you murder somebody out of state, but you bury the body or chop it up in their state, they can still try you for, fucking with a corpse and burying it and that kind of stuff, improper disposal and mutilation and all that kind of shit. And they don't have to wait until you're tried for murder in another state. See how that works? Or a federal crime for killing somebody and then driving them across state lines or whatever.
People in the court just said to me, I can't believe it. This is the case.
No, nobody in the court said that to you.
Today was the first time in history opening remarks were delivered in a criminal case against a former president.
Yeah, that part we're enjoying. That I'm good with. Yeah, that's good. Evil Ross.
And you're not going to believe who delivered the opening remarks for the prosecution. Joe Biden's former acting associate attorney general.
Why wouldn't I believe that? Joe Biden likes hiring effective, quality people. That makes total sense.
Wait a
people who know what they're doing.
Second, the media says Joe Biden has nothing to do with these prosecutions.
Right. That's what the former part works. It's kind of like Trump and the White House. He's a former president. He has nothing to do with the White House right now. Does Donald Trump, as a former president, still run the military, for example? Now, obviously, the QAnons will disagree with me, but I would say no.
Well, the number 3 guy at the Biden Justice Department parachuted in from D.C.
Well, in all defense, if there was a number 2 guy, Trump would have hired him.
Into Alvin Bragg's office.
I think he just chose to move in there after they had seen the evidence.
Revised this dead case and just gave the opening statement.
I think that was supposed to be CPR. Or Jesse had a leg cramp. We'll never know.
To the jury. Matt Colangelo left the Biden administration and Frankenstein the personal matter years ago.
It's Frankenstein or Frankenstein, but it's never Frankenstein. What is wrong with you?
Go into 34 felony counts.
It's not his fault. No one ever watches a movie with this asshole.
The DA, Alvin Bragg, isn't even prosecuting the case.
Right.
Biden's prosecutors are the ones prosecuting it.
Yeah, the DA often will lay it out, especially when it's a financial crime. If they'll bring in specialists around something.
Shows up to court with donuts.
Yeah, that's all. He's just got to make sure they're well fed and they show up on time. He's coordinating.
He hasn't argued in front of the judge once. He's just
he doesn't have to.
Running on Duncan. For the next 6 weeks, Trump's in a torture chamber while Biden's prosecutor puts on a show trial.
Well, it's not a show trial. It's an actual trial.
The Star Witness has a podcast.
Right. Right.
And gets to rip Trump a new one.
Right, but if he says anything in the podcast that doesn't line up with his testimony in court, Trump's attorneys could use that against him and say, hey, you said this on your podcast, you've been telling people this lie, but under oath, you say this is true, and if he doesn't say it's true, then obviously they can take that into account and say, oh, he's a liar because he lied in this thing, but he's saying a different story now than he says in the air, so maybe everything I've heard about this is false. See how that actually helps Trump?
But Trump's gagged.
Well, in all fairness, he's gagging other people, too. I'm just saying.
He put out another post that attacked me. I'll tell you how I would act on it if I was the judge. I would turn around and I would say, Donald, grab your toothbrush, grab your hair, and report to
your hair shit.
500 Pearl Street, the criminal court, because you're spending the night in the tombs downstairs. And you'll spend every day. We'll bring you up for the trial, but afterwards, you're not going back to your triplex. You're going downstairs to the pokey until you learn how to act like a human being. That's what I would do.
The star witness who went to prison for lying is...
On behalf of Donald Trump. Again, for the people in the cheap seats, if I may... Mr. Jesse, I'll make this as dumb as possible in deference to you so you can understand what the fuck we're talking about here. Specifically, if Michael Cohen comes into a room inside a building and says the sky is polka dot, and he lies to people about the sky being polka dot, and then he is busted by these people because they go outside and they see the sky is blue. And they go, that guy's a liar and he lied. We should throw him in liar's jail for saying the sky was polka dot. And then later on, he's brought back out because the guy who told him to say the sky was polka dot, because he needed people to believe the sky was polka dot, is on trial for starting the lie in the first place. And he goes, actually, it was blue. I lied on his behalf and I lied to the people. It was a lie that it was polka dot. It's blue. And they go, how do we know you're not lying now? How do we know the sky is blue? You might be lying about that. And you're like, well, there's the sky. That's how. And so the recordings that we have of Cohen talking to Trump, because he was increasingly aware that Trump was going to serve him up, that he, while he was lying about him, he had these recordings. And Trump let him hang, effectively go to jail. And so he said, actually, I was lying. Here's the recordings of what actually was said. It's a recording of Trump saying the sky is blue. And that he knows the sky is blue and that I should go tell those people the sky is polka dot. That's why. That's what's happening. End of story. That analogy is as dumb as I can get. That's the floor.
He's torturing Trump and bossing the judge around. And if Trump says anything, jail.
Also, jail. No, he isn't. Or he'd be in jail already. Secondly, he's not bossing the judge around. He's saying, if I was him, this was what I would do. That's not the judge better. That would be the bossing around part. And if he was bossing the judge around and it worked, Trump would already be in jail, which you apparently think he is. This is fucking dumb.
Stormy Daniels, porn star, who...
Yeah. A star in her own right, though, as well.
Extorted Trump and owes him 600 G's in legal fees. And her attorney, Michael Avenatti, in prison for extortion.
Right, but of her and other people.
Everyone in this case.
Who, by the way, Avenatti wants to testify on Trump's behalf because they were both trying to fuck her, and they both did a terrible job of it. By the way, we have audio of Trump's liaison with Stormy Daniels. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Is either a liar, a porn star, or an extortionist, or all of the above.
Well, interestingly enough, Trump wishes he was all of the above himself. So it's like Trump, saying he's a billionaire or good in bed or attractive or smart.
They're the faces of a case that's never been tried before in the history of the United States.
That's because most politicians aren't dumb enough to try to pull this off. They just kind of either hide it and then eat and go away, but they don't bark about it afterwards and continue to attack people once they've been elected and get themselves in more hot water. I mean, it's just...
Their argument, are you ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. What's their argument?
Is that Trump should have used donor money to stop a woman from shaking him down.
That's not the actual... That's not how that works. No, that's By the way, he might have. All right. What?
And then file the ransom with the FEC. That's a great way of protecting your family. No one would ever find out.
What?
This wasn't campaign business. This was personal.
No, it wasn't, because it was he paid her off during he paid Michael Cohen while he was in office, and they talked specifically about this in relation to the campaign. Secondly, David Pecker said they met in August of that year when he was running for president and said we're gonna have to clean up some of this shit, and Pecker helped him fight these things. He helped him destroy Ted Cruz and go after Rubio and others. It wasn't just this thing. This was an entire conspiracy to do this shit. This wasn't the only fucking payment. I gotta tell you, it's a bigger story that he was paying David Pecker through Michael Cohen to create stories about Ted Cruz and the bunch of these dumb motherfuckers that he was running against than it is that he was paying off Stormy about this particular issue to basically to run interference because the Access Hollywood tape had come out and he was worried that he was starting to lose a significant number of female voters that would cost him the election.
Campaign finance law specifically states candidates cannot use campaign funds for an expense that would exist anyway, even if it benefits the campaign. His lawyer paid Stormy, and after the campaign was over, the money was reimbursed and booked as a legal expense.
Right, but not a campaign expense. Trump did this personally after the campaign was over. Right, this is weird. This is like making an argument that, like, look, the bank robbers took the money and they hid it in a stump and they waited till the heat went down and then they went and picked it up. It is not illegal to take money from a stump, okay? It's no longer bank robbery once the stump is involved for more than 48 hours.
You can't use campaign funds for personal matters, and now you can't use personal funds for personal matters during a campaign?
Yeah, that's way to sum it up.
So
that's exactly what everyone's saying. That's it's amazing. It's incredible. I'm surprised you're not on his legal team. This is honestly, this is so dumb. He might be on Trump's legal team.
I guess the real crime is that Trump ran for president.
No, I think it's the whole like rape part and the credible sexual assault charges against him, and then him using campaign funds and his own funds to pay for hit stories against his the other Republicans running against him, which is the way those assholes acted after he treated him like that. I don't have any sympathy for him, but it's still unethical, if not criminal, in certain areas. I mean, it's defamatory. I think they've all got a case. That's going to be interesting. I think if any of these guys had any guts at all, they would file a defamation case against him based on the findings from the beginning of this, the testimony from Pecker that he helped him coordinate these attack stories and denied these guys a run at the presidency. So but I don't care what happens amongst Republicans. They can sort their shit out.
And beat Hillary. Prosecutors are arguing that it's a felony to quiet rumors about your personal life.
No, it isn't. It's not a felony to do that. It's a felony to falsify records about how you did it and pretend that the cash payment that you're funneling to someone else, if you wrote him the check, if he'd have written her the fucking check, that'd be that. Or give her cash. Try the Menendez situation. You could actually you could write a check. You could have written a check. This is how fucking stupid this asshole is. He could have written a check to Michael Cohen for $130,000. Said, go cash this at the bank. Bring me this money and just leave it in the office. Tell people it's running money. None of your fucking business. You're my lawyer. It's none of your business. It's covered in this thing. And then later on, I'm going to give you a duffel bag that belongs to her and you're going to drop it off. Don't look inside. I dropped off some things that belonged to her. What were they? I don't know. He said it was some personal things she'd left behind. They didn't have an affair, but she had been over there for an event, and they were giving out goodie bags to all the celebrities that showed up, and because they were talking about a possible deal, she had left hers and had me drop it off. See how easy this shit is? I'm dead serious. Like, why? That took me, 18 fucking seconds? Maybe next time, if you have a book called The Art of the Deal, write it your fucking self. Maybe you'll learn something in the process.
A lot of presidents have made tabloid rumors disappear.
Okay.
Bill Clinton had a war room combating bimbo eruptions.
Right. But they didn't buy anybody off.
Senator Ted Kennedy settled a case with Mary Jo's family after he left her for dead in the waters of Chappaquiddick.
Well, that would be his own personal sin. I wouldn't have voted for him for president, and a lot of people didn't at the time because of that very thing. So you're still making the case that that Trump should not have been elected president in the first place because he's gross and dumb.
Alvin Bragg's arguing that Senator Kennedy.
By the way, stop. Let me tell you what's going on, hang on there a second. Let me explain something to you because I'm smarter than you are. Get used to the idea. He does this weird, like, listen to this. Let me tell you how I'm playing the person who's telling you how dumb you are. That's what that gesture is. He does it all the time. He does it on the 5 too. A lot of times he holds a pen to appear more macho.
Should have used campaign funds and filed it with the FEC. That's nonsense. That was personal.
Yeah, except it wasn't. It was the decision to do this was done after the campaign started.
Biden's former prosecutor told the jury today that Trump was trying to influence his own election. Oh, my.
Yeah, he literally was. And here's the thing. Like I said, the Stormy Daniels part of it is the least of it. The National Enquirer stories where he was like paying Cohen to deliver these stories, and there was a contribution in kind from the Enquirer, which, by the way, settled on a non-prosecution agreement to keep Pecker from going to fucking jail over this shit. That's the biggest crime in this. Yeah, I know, Boston Brian. I don't know what his defense is. He started out with this, they're torturing Trump, and now it's this illusion that Bragg says he should have paid with campaign funds and it would have been legal. It just technically would have. The weird part is it was the conspiracy was trying to hide it. It was falsifying legal records to basically use attorney-client privilege to hide the payment as well, which is another problem they have with mobsters, and so you can't allow that to slide.
Oh my gosh. Trump's defense attorney told the jury trying to influence the election is.
It's important that I want to be very specific about that. Imagine, if you will, a mob boss, gang leader, a head of a small sub-faction of the mob or whatever, has somebody they want killed. And they gotta have a, distance between them and the killer, the money going to the killer. So what they do is they pay their attorney, and then their attorney receives an imaginary cash loan from this person and then refunds money to them and writes, I refund your money. Here's $130,000. We'll go our separate ways. And in court, he'll go, Your Honor, I can't talk about what we discussed or our finances or whatever, but he paid me in cash something, and I knew I couldn't work for him, so I gave him his money back. And in reality, that money that came to him never existed, and the mob boss passes that money on and says, I don't have to tell you what happens between me and my attorney. Does that make sense? And so you can't have somebody using your attorney as a way of laundering cash to do criminal activity, essentially. And in this case, it was, campaign fraud, and that's a federal crime. And again, you don't have to wait for the feds to go after somebody because you have them in custody. You can try them for what you have them on, which is falsifying business records. And if you could do that, if you could falsify business records in this situation, you would be able to falsify business records in all those other areas because it's between you and your fucking attorney and nobody's allowed to have.
Called democracy.
We're not, look, have you not been listening to Glenn Beck?
Stop using the word democracy.
There's nothing wrong with the non-disclosure agreement.
Well, I mean, legally, I don't know. Depends on what you're asking them to hide. I would argue that in the Diddy, R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Cosby, Michael Jackson world, there were a bunch of NDAs that technically later turned out to be illegal because of what they were covering and what you weren't allowed. Because you can't make someone sign an NDA to not talk about a crime, and a crime is not protected under an NDA.
Can you believe the Democrats still can't get over the 2016 election?
Well, interestingly enough, particularly that in this situation, we're just now finding out how much bullshit he had to do just to fuck Republicans in the nomination to win, because everybody was sort of up to this point under the illusion that he had won just on charm and the rest of these guys were just fucking losers. But apparently even Trump couldn't deal with it because he was planting stories about Ted Cruz and all these assholes, and now we're just hearing about this. This is fascinating.
It's now a crime to beat Hillary.
No, it's if you beat her fair and square. That's the whole thing. He's calling this election interference and saying that Biden is keeping him from campaigning and stuff. And it turns out that's exactly what he was doing in 2016.
The squad admitted it's political, saying, if Trump had just been impeached, we wouldn't have had to put him in jail.
Well, no, because the problem with it is that he would have, if he was impeached, he never would have done January 6th, and he never would have done the classified document stuff, and it would have never woken up the fraud part of the case, which unlocked the payments, because it was all financial, that he had hidden all these payments and engaged in this conspiracy to defraud, record keeping and all that kind of stuff. That's this minor part of this.
I go back to the responsibility of Congress here, because had the Senate actually gone through with the impeachment of Donald Trump, we would not be in this situation.
Right, again, because there wouldn't have been, and I'm fairly certain she was talking about the classified documents in January 6th trial, which are specific to, had he been kicked out, there wouldn't have been a January 6th. He wouldn't have had the access to those classified documents. He wouldn't have been able to sneak that shit out had he been impeached.
The squad's talking about is Biden losing. Former President Donald Trump polling ahead of Biden on every major issue. Look at that.
Nope.
Looking back, voters remember the Trump.
It's interesting. Okay, by the way, in a bunch of these issues, this is like composite ones, because on voters, it's weird that on a bunch of these, and these are, push polls being what they are, that Trump and his team have been buying polls and having them done and paying for them and paying for the companies that do them, blah, blah, blah. And we've been through this kind of stuff with polls before, but notice how they have switched to, lately, all the Republicans are talking about issues-related polls. He's better on this, he's better on this, he's better on this, and that kind of stuff, especially around certain, and I don't know what the fuck strong record means, of what? Infrastructure week? He made it go on and on, right? Competent, effective, just hilarious, because shit didn't happen because he would have just let him roll through, blah, blah, blah. This is like, it never would have happened on my watch, those kind of stories. But interestingly enough, they've been doing more of these, Fox and all these cover these kind of things. But when you look at voters, registered voters and committed voters and voters that are excited, like Biden has pulled ahead by 4, 5, and sometimes 10 points. So it's a very odd mismatch, but they keep bringing this one up.
Term and stacked up against.
Right? Why wouldn't you just bring up the whole, like, he's winning from voters by 5 points in these areas? They stopped doing that.
It's the Biden term. It's no contest. Voters should put aside all the chaos and just look at the Biden and Trump terms on paper.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I totally fucking agree. Just on paper. Who has the highest stock market? How about wage growth? What about unemployment? How about an infrastructure bill? How about lowering prescription drug costs? Just on the record. How about number of people dying in your final year in office? Let's just go by that merit. Or metric, rather.
Gavin Newsom says the media is so hyper-focused on Trump, they're going to get him reelected again.
This is a guy that doesn't care if he is the hero or the heel. He just wants to be the star. And in so many ways, he gets what he wants. And that's the bright spotlight and focus. When we're focusing on him, I do worry electorally that he has a slight advantage. The consequential nature of a criminal trial is profound and outsized in some respect, but not more outsized than democracy, nor more outsized perhaps.
Well, there's a lot of edits in this. It seems like you're cutting out all the caveats.
On what I thought was one of the biggest stories of the week, and that's Robert Kennedy Jr. getting on the ballot in Michigan. If he gets on more than just that one critical swing state of Michigan and gets on the ballot in some of these others.
Yeah, we're in it's dangerous territory where he will steal a bunch of anti-vaxxers from Trump.
I think you have to take that very, very seriously.
Mm-hmm. I will be taking it very seriously as an affront to Trump.
Elections are won at the ballot box, not in the courtroom. But this year, Trump might win in both.
Nope.
So what do you do when
Oh, sorry, Vincent. Hi, bye.
you're down? Republicans are going to pull pregnant women over and make them pee on a stick.
We're almost there. You're gonna make it.
Yeah, they literally are. Where the fuck have you been? They're bragging about it in Texas, dipshit.
Trump Republicans want to criminalize young Alabama women who travel for reproductive care.
Miss, I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle, take a pregnancy test.
Stop them.
And once you have them scared, bring in Hollywood to help sell it.
The people that I've talked to and everybody that I have say he's as sharp as a tack. He's fine. We all have an issue with memories. As we get older, we forget names, something. He's overcome a stutter in his life, and sometimes he might. But let's just say that his entire cabinet, including his vice president, everybody in his cabinet, would be more than happy to work with him again in the next term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And it's an excellent point, considering that cannot be said by any stretch of Trump's cabinet from his first term at all. Like, what's he left? Who are the only ones who fucking want to go on with Trump? Gorka?
These people who meet Biden privately keep saying he's sharp as a tack. Weird, right? Because he doesn't act sharp in public.
Yeah, he does.
It's like the same thing they say.
It's weird. It's almost like you're just pretending that Trump is sharp as a tack in public. Like you're not.
That Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
Did you cover that, Jesse? Did you? Let me let you hear that one more time, Jesse.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
I have not heard Biden go. I've heard Biden trail off and decide not to go further with a talking point and go, hey, right, I don't need to go right there. Like, which is like an older gentlemanly way of saying, in some cases, I'm Irish, and if I keep talking about this, I'm going to cuss. Right? But just specifically, did this asshole cover that one? Did he cover...
Our army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
Did he cover that one? Did he
purge the anti-Semitism and pro-terrorism? What you're doing?
Yeah. Any of that shit? Did he cover any of that? Is it? How about
action replays in magnified fortune?
Did he cover
free health care for illegal? Look.
Yeah. How about just saying Christopher Columbus?
Christopher Columbus. Christopher. Huh?
I honest to God, I don't know what the fuck that was about. I've been racking my brain like why that's hard. Right?
Here I am like an idiot.
So.
About Hillary, behind the scenes, she's so funny. She's so loose and relatable. They trotted out another actor to sell you that Trump hates blacks.
When we protested the killing of George Floyd, he was advocating for the military to shoot us in the streets.
Yeah.
He's made it clear throughout his life that he believes black people are inferior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he came into the accounting firm that was running his dad's company in the 80s and said, I don't want black people counting my money. I want the people with the small hats, meaning Jews, but just to count his money, obviously. And then, or his dad's money, technically. And then he and his father, of course, were sued by the Justice Department for not renting to black people. It was like his first project with his father.
Like he believes that to his core, in his bones. When you hear some of the stray comments he makes, he clearly believes in a genetic hierarchy of humanity.
He does. He believes he's smart because he's got good genes because his uncle was the longest serving MIT professor and he thinks that automatically makes him fucking smart. which is just fucking garbage. And let's be abundantly clear. He can't bring up black people without bringing up criminal justice reform, as if that is the single thing that black people can relate to and care about. Fucking, he was like, I'm doing everything for black people. I'm doing criminal justice reform and selling shoes, basketball shoes. Like, fuck off.
And is racially determined. So he is a tried and true, like, dyed-in-the-wool racist.
They're trying to sell you a script that they wrote but doesn't exist. Black
Yeah, look how warm he is with these folks.
women are diving into Trump's arms at
Yeah, black women are randomly, apropos of nothing, with no setup at all, jumping into Trump's arms at Chick-fil-A, you know, the chicken place, where they had the black lady activist who hates gay people and therefore considers herself a Republican to push back on the society that wants to turn black men gay. And so she formed her own right-wing group and became an outreach for the black community, member of the Trump campaign. And she just happened to be at this fucking place, just happened to be there.
Chick-fil-A, John Legend. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, we've seen that one. That was a setup. That was the whole point. His campaign recognizes he's got a fucking black people problem, and they're going to have to work to get over it. Now, never mind the fact that the monolithic racial stereotype aspect of what Jesse's saying here, that one black girl in this particular place who works specifically for a right-wing, outreach and media organization that was the only person they could get to do that little stunt. Never mind the fact that he thinks she represents all black ladies because they're all the same. Even though the majority of them can't stand this motherfucker, that one lady does it, they're all in for him. He's engaging in racial stereotyping as it happens. See, Jesse, I don't have a problem with some black people supporting Trump or some black people supporting RFK. I have my problem with the fact that they do, but not that they're black and do it. Does that make sense? And I certainly don't believe that if they do, oh shit, if one of them likes them, they all do. It's like a hive mind.
Or John, have you seen Biden say black cannibals ate his uncle? I mean, that's someone who believes in a
Yeah, he didn't say that.
Genetic hierarchy.
No, he was saying when he landed there were actually cannibals there, and there still are.
That's not someone who's that sharp.
Hey, Sean Hannity.
It's not someone that's that sharp. He obviously hates black people. That's why he put a woman of color in the second position to be president, possibly at his age if he passed away, because he would hate the idea that one of them would run the place. It's to his core. Now, granted, look, we all know that Trump is going to pick Ben Carson or Tim Scott. It's already what? I'm sorry. Sorry, there's a big royal hell no. That's not actually going to happen. And the person will be what? So white, it will look like Steve Martin fucked Mike Pence in a marshmallow factory. All right, sure. That's what's happening. That's All right, now there are a bunch of these. Hold on. Yeah, okay. All right. Let's go to another idiot who's freaking out about this, and let's just see what their take on it, because everybody seems to think there's I think that's a pretty good analogy, right? It was a pretty rock solid comedic analogy. Yeah, it worked. Congratulations. It's a Casper. Sorry. So, speaking of Casper, this guy who, I gotta say, can't walk through my pillow factory without someone, trying to stuff him inside a sack. What? It was like white and fluffy and puffy, and it looked like Patented Phil. I thought that was his name. Hi, I'm Patented Phil. The part of Patented Phil will be played by Glenn Black. I'll just call you Black. This is ridiculous. You don't seem like you think it's ridiculous. You seem like you think it's awful. You look very upset. Come on, it's a Casper. You got to give me that one.
Here's what you need to say to yourself.
All right, what do I need to say to myself?
When you start...
Oh, shit, that's loud. Sorry.
Start listening to, politicians or newscasters say...
You are one, right?
Hey, this is really important that you pay attention to this because this is what I think. And you'll know who you can trust, especially in Washington, D.C. If they're not talking about the government spending, then they're not serious about inflation.
They're not talking about government spending. They're not serious about inflation because you think this is monetary inflation because COVID didn't happen, you dumb motherfucker.
Period. Right. If with the border, if they're talking about how dangerous things are in America, and we've got to make sure that we are buttoned up and things are bad and blah, 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 and we've got terror. All the red lights are flashing. But they don't talk about stopping the hemorrhaging at the border. They're not serious.
Okay, I don't know who he's talking about. I think this is related to, like, FBI people testifying in front of committees.
You talk about FISA.
I do. You're right. I have talked about FISA. Yeah.
Oh, we've got to have extra duper, super duper, warrantless searches on Americans.
No, that's not it at all. As a matter of fact, if we had extra, I got to tell you, there's obviously some Americans might deserve it, but extra super duper warrantless, beyond the childishness of it and the oversimplification of it, you do realize you should need a warrant to look in the emails of a foreign terrorist. And if you find the emails of someone who's an American in that, you shouldn't need a warrant to read them because they sent them to that person, and that's how communication works. Now, if you want to go look at their stuff, guess what? The law provides that you have to get a warrant. And you can get that warrant based on shit they said in emails that they sent to Hamas or Al-Qaeda or ISIS or Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping or any of his toadies or the Chinese military or the fucking North Koreans. And you could show what they said to those people. And you go, we might want to take a look at these guys because that makes sense. Because if from a legal standpoint, if I walked down to the border, in deference to you, dum-dum, let's say I walked down to the border and there's some cartel guys over there. And I'm standing on this side of the border and I go, hey, and there's cops nearby. And they're watching those guys. But I walk up right next to them. And I go, and I don't see them though. They're behind a bush or something because there's some obscuring my view. I don't realize they're there. But I yell at the cartel, hey, toss me a bag of fentanyl and a gun. And they do. And in watching, they hear somebody yell that, and then they see a bag of fentanyl fly over and a gun fly over the thing. And obviously, thank God the wall is see-through, so I can see it coming. I can get out of the way, and I don't get hit with it. And then they go, holy shit, you hear that guy yell, hey, give me some fentanyl and a gun? Yes, I did. We were listening to the cartel, but that motherfucker decided to yell at them and say, give me a gun and some fentanyl. So, Your Honor, we would like a warrant for his home. Well, guess what, dum-dum? A, they're going through the right process, and B, they will get one.
Because it's so dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know if Americans are involved. But they are not saying anything about the Palestinian Nazis on our streets.
Well, that's an FBI thing. That's not a FISA thing. unless they're communicating with them, in which case, by the way, what he's arguing is, let's say the Palestinian Nazis he's talking about, let's just say one of them, who happens to be an American, actually coordinates with Hamas, gets emails or sends emails. What this motherfucker wants is that for our government, who's watching people in terrorist organizations, they discover that one of these Palestinian Nazis, right, that's on the Columbia campus or whatever the fuck he's saying, let's just say that person sent an email and said, hey, how do you make a bomb? How do I kill a bunch of Jews? How do I make this happen? What Glenn wants to make sure is that that person is not interrupted in their plan, and that you can't even read that person's email to Hamas that you found in Hamas's inbox without getting a secondary warrant to even look for it, which at that point, since you can't even look at it, you don't even know. I don't even know how you weed out Americans versus not Americans in those situations. That's another thing entirely. Well, you can't look at anybody because some of them might be Americans because nobody lists whether they're American or not in an email or some shit until you've already seen it and you already know who they are. This is just fucking dumb. It's another reason why you don't need a warrant to look in Hamas's inbox. You don't. But if you find something in Hamas's inbox, go, hey, by the way, they're getting messages from this motherfucker who lives in Brooklyn or this motherfucker who lives in Ohio, we might want to pay them a visit because this is some gnarly shit. The judge will give them a warrant based on what they see, and then they will go and get a legit, they'll do a search of that person's place. But Glenn wants to make sure that that doesn't happen. Just to be clear.
That are organized and well-funded. They're not serious about your security.
You're not. Because you want to make sure that that funding continues and that you can't look at it. Are you out of your fucking mind? How do they find out? If what you're saying is true, how do you find out where the funding is coming from? If you look at these terrorist organizations, you find emails from Americans that are clearly engaged in violence or want to be, and you can't even track it back because this motherfucker is afraid you might find some Jan 6ers in Putin's inbox. That's why.
Period. If the New York Times writes a story that says, yeah, you know what, this Trump trial, it's got a mountain of facts to it.
It does.
Really?
Yes, really. Yeah, that's why it's charged about business records. Those records aren't a matter of opinion. That's a fact. That would be a mountain of facts. There's 9 charges? That's a lot.
But they don't seem to care that the statute of limitations is passed.
So you're admitting he's guilty. You just think he got away with it. So you're arguing that he should have gotten away with it, even though there was a 4-year pause where he couldn't be tried because he was president of the United States, which would, by the way, extend the statute of limitations and make it within that time period. So he's guilty. All right, Glenn, that's progress. Congratulations. Glenn Beck, this is a red letter day. Glenn Beck has admitted Trump's guilty. He just, got away with it, and he should, goddammit.
Here I am like an idiot.
That's right. Yes, Glenn gets the celebratory Trump dusting of the day.
No mountain of evidence can overwhelm that fact.
Yeah, right.
We're past the statute of limitations.
The fact that the DOJ passed on, I don't know if you know this, DOJ doesn't like Donald Trump.
What?
Yeah. The fact.
Also, citation needed.
Fact that the Federal Elections Committee also passed on this.
Right. Okay. So real quick, in some cases, the federal government does not have enough information to timely try someone for a criminal enterprise they were involved in. Again, back to my murder analogy. They don't have enough information to prove that somebody murdered someone in one state and drove the body to another state and buried it and after chopping it up. But New York has enough information to prove that that person drove into their state with a person and chopped that person up. They have the site and they have forensic evidence, and that they buried this person. But the feds go, we can't prove they killed that person. So we can't try them until we get more information. And now murder, there is no statute of limitations on that. So that's the one place where it falls apart. But the issue is the exact same, is that The state of New York does not have to wait until the feds charge you with murder to charge you with dismembering a corpse and burying it.
And said there's no crime here. There's nothing. Even Alvin Bragg, the prosecutor, passed on this originally.
Because at that time, insofar as I know, some of the stuff about like Cohen hadn't flipped. That was a part of it. And they didn't have the recordings.
There's nothing here. There is no mountain of evidence that could...
Well, then why would you make the statute of limitations argument? Then obviously he's going to be found innocent. And it'll make him even more powerful and stronger. He won't even have to campaign. He can sit still for a couple fucking weeks and he'll just bounce this bullshit.
That is standing in the way of anything other than a mistrial.
I love how it's like presented as this uphill battle too. It's like, oh, is a mountain of evidence even enough for this very difficult task they have to do of convicting Donald Trump in Manhattan? I mean, that's
Well, it's a good point because most of his criming took place there, including a myriad of his sexual assaults, and he's had the stink of being a loser and basically a glorified frat boy forever. But again, New Yorkers aren't special, I would like to say. Thanks, Damon. It's actually iced coffee, but thank you. We had a little bit left over, and I loaded it down with ice because there wasn't enough, and it just melted, and it was more. It looked like tea. It's watered down coffee. But anyways, point being is that New Yorkers don't want their legal system misused just for the fuck of it. There's no value in throwing somebody in jail for spite because that if God forbid the power shifts, that could be used against you. You need the standard to be able to stand up to an appeal. You need that appeal to, not be, reversed. You don't need to put people in jail for things that they're not guilty of. But you also don't have to let shit slide just because it's difficult.
Did you hear what Jayapal said? What's her name?
Jayapal?
Yeah, Jayapal. She came out and she said this weekend. Do we have it? Yeah, listen to this.
Oh, good.
And, I go back to the responsibility of Congress here.
Okay, so, all right, they all got a talking point. That's where this clip is specifically this clip. You know what I mean? They didn't grab a sentence before where Jesse Waters had gotten it. That's very telling. That means there's a coordination going on with the Trump campaign or what's left of it or his media group that's trying to paint fucking, spackle the holes in this fucking ship as it's going down. And they are sending the exact same clip around and going, hammer her for this. Your viewers hate her.
Because had the Senate actually gone through with the impeachment of Donald Trump, we would not be in this situation.
Look at that. Exact same fucking cut. What are the chances? Why would you have that clip exactly? Certainly other people have said that. You think that's interesting? Yes, it's the clip du jour. What is that? That's the clip of the day. That sounds good. I'll have that.
Oh, wait, what?
Wait a minute. What?
Hold it. What?
I don't understand.
We wouldn't be.
That's because you're stupid. Okay, so if he had been found, impeached and removed, there would be no January 6th. There would be no classified documents case. There, more than likely, because there wouldn't have been renewed interest, he would have just kind of faded into obscurity. Probably would not have had a trial on because he moved to Florida, on the fraud he committed in New York for a while anyways, until he tried to do it again, essentially. And so he would have just kind of fucked off. And it was really January 6th that refueled people's wait a minute, we've been letting this motherfucker get away with stuff, and now he thinks he can get away with something on this level. Maybe we should have had a bit of a broken windows policy with this dumb motherfucker.
In this situation.
Now, she's telling the truth.
Yes, she is.
She is telling the truth.
Not even under oath.
If I know,
she's under oath, she'll lie. But in this case, she's telling the truth.
She is. If they had convicted Trump and he was ineligible to become president of the United States, they wouldn't be doing any of this.
Correct.
Because they...
Right, but there also wouldn't have been the other crimes. They were talking about, specifically right before they were talking about January 6th case specifically, and which was the second impeachment. If the first impeachment had gone through and he'd been kicked out like he should have been, they wouldn't have had to have a second impeachment. They wouldn't have had the classified document situation. That's what she was talking about. It's interesting to me that you guys cut that off.
They don't actually
there's
care.
nothing
It's
here.
not real. They're just trying to win this election.
Give me the.
Well, there's something real. If there was, again, if it wasn't real, why argue statute of limitations? You can't have statute of limitations issues with something that didn't happen.
New York Times mountain of evidence.
Well, Glenn, as you know, they've got 34 counts.
34 counts.
I had forgotten this, but this is incredible going over the stuff as we were preparing
34
for this.
counts. That sounds bad.
So it's 34 false records accusations here.
Wow. So he's forged or put lies in 34 different places, 34 different times.
Right, 34. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Now, when you think about this case, we kind of know the basic structure of it, right? Like Michael
Yeah, let's work on it.
Cohen made payments to these women to shut them up before the election. Again, this is the accusation. And Trump, now that's not illegal, by the way. They're not even accusing him of being illegal.
No, hush money. It's just hush money.
Right.
Well, no, but it's not illegal.
Yeah, it's not illegal, and the statute of limitations have run out on something that wasn't illegal in the fucking first place.
Right. So you might have a problem with that. You might think that's not a good, feature for a president.
Oh, not Glenn, and certainly not the evangelical base. What are you kidding? They secretly jack off to it.
President of the United States to have, but like that's you could make that decision at the ballot box.
Right, and that's why he was hiding it. You're so close, Stu. Stu, you're so close. Now, I know if you get any closer to it, you'll lose your job. So I don't expect you to realize. And Glenn's looking at you. Glenn knows. Glenn knows you're this fucking close. You're so close to saying, and that's why I paid to hide it because, yeah.
So they're not even saying that. What they're saying is it was false records. So what they did is, okay, Cohen.
No, it is not, but never mind the internal New York issues with the violations that he had in election law. There might be a statute of limitations on the state level, but since he was president, they couldn't go after it. And there's a federal charge that could be put against him for election interference and misuse of campaign funds and all kinds of other shit, and a contribution in kind from the Inquirer that goes along with them, which would include him in a prosecution, which is why Pecker is testifying against him as part of their deal to avoid that shit. But again, the state does not have to wait for the feds to charge part of the case. They can say, we know that part's guilty, that's up to them. But the part that was committed in our state, we can still try you for that shit. And that was the hiding of where this money went through your lawyer, which mobsters try to do all the time. And we have to push back against that. Because if we let you get away with it, the next time somebody's snuffed and they use the lawyer as a conduit to get the fucking money there, we won't be able to break it open using RICO because you've laid down the ground fire to protect them from that.
Makes these payments to shut up Stormy Daniels and the group. And then to pay Cohen back, they basically make a BS line in their records, which says it's additional legal expenses or something like that. Like there's some...
Yeah, it's just a little BS. It's technically illegal. And it's campaign interference. It's election interference.
They mark it as like a retainer for legal services, which it wasn't. It was paying him back for these payments. Okay.
Yeah, it was the exact same amount. Here's the funny fucking part. If Donald Trump wasn't fucking such a piece of shit cheapskate, he could have just thrown an extra $10K on top of it. Right? The $130 he gave to Stormy Daniels, he could have paid him $140,000 and said, this is for stuff you did and stuff you're going to do. But he wouldn't. He's like, how much was it? Okay, here's the check. Shut the fuck up. And he wrote a 1-to-1 dollar for dollar check because he's a dumbass. I'm just saying, if you're running your life based on the art of the deal, it's a mistake.
Okay. So this is how they get to 34 counts. Because if you remember, that was just paid back over a year. So how do you get to 34 counts?
Yeah, how do you get to that?
It's when it's basically one payment. Well, first of all, you break that up. They made 12 payments. So that's 12 counts. Okay? That's how this is legitimately how they're doing it. Yeah. Obviously, they're paying him back for one thing, but he separated into monthly payments. So it was 12 counts.
So I'd like to hear...
To try and hide it.
Wait, I'd like to hear the jury argument.
And they all magically add up to that. They all magically add up to paying Michael Cohen for his silence on the money he had already outlaid. It didn't go over. It wasn't an extension. It all adds up to exactly the money that Michael Cohen laid out.
No, I don't think he meant it in June and July.
Right.
But the other 10 counts, they'll stand. So you got, if you have 12 counts, that's already sounds horrible.
Right. But it's all
because you wouldn't pick.
That's because each count is a crime in and of itself. That's how it works. Now, to go back to our kind of our running murder analogy, that if you open fire on a bunch of people and you fire your gun or whatever, they don't sort of charge you by the bullet. But if you shoot someone 3 times and you're shooting over here and you're shooting over here or whatever, and what happens is you wounded this person and you hit this person and you killed this person or whatever, each one is a separate count. It isn't just a brazen act of violence. They don't charge you with that. They charge you with specifically your intent in each one. Each action, you intended to kill this person, that's who you showed up to kill. This person you didn't care about, but you had a wanton disregard for human life, or they were collateral damage, or they were near the person and you didn't care, or you thought this person was going to stop you from killing the person you were there to kill and you shot them too, and you winged them, or you wounded them, or you killed them, and that was part of this. So that's first-degree murder and that's second-degree murder. That's how it works, because intention in each of these actions is singular to the act itself.
1 month, he didn't really mean it. You'd have to pick all 12. So he's convicted just there.
Yeah.
12.
Well, the other thing, too, is that Michael Cohen was doing no legal services for him during that time in any capacity. There were no court cases, none of that shit, right? He was just getting payments to hang. And he had White House counsel and other private counsel. He had other lawyers dealing with his other shit that weren't Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen was not acting as a lawyer for him. So he's paying him for this stuff, and there wasn't even a bullshit case that he could use as cover.
12 counts.
Now, technically, it was 11. I think if I remember right, one of the payments.
Does this asshole think none of us have seen the movie The Firm? May not be sexy, but it's got teeth.
Was skipped or whatever, but it was 11. So 11 checks. Okay. That's 11 of the 34 counts.
Okay. 11.
And you might say, wait a minute, that's totally stretching, right? It's one payment broken into 11 times. Okay, that's BS. Secondarily, it's 11 monthly invoices Mr. Cohen submitted. So it wasn't just 11.
So now we're up to 20.
Right, because lying in one direction and accepting a lie in the other way are 2 totally different crimes. If you hadn't done the first, but you received something back from the other person, you'd be guilty of that crime. You don't get off because they just, let's just zero it out. I gave him money, he gave me drugs. Let's not just call it drug sales. The person who made the drugs and brought the drugs and shot somebody on their way there, is the same as the dude who's buying them for his use. So yes, I had pockets full of heroin and fentanyl and all that kind of stuff. And this guy bought some off of me. He gave me $20 and I gave him this, and we're equally guilty because it's just one exchange. I'm selling, he's buying, but he's as bad, the buyer is as bad as the seller in this particular instance. That's not how it works. Never has been. Yeah.
22.
That's 22 counts. So the 22 counts are 11 times he paid him in a check, and the 11 times he invoiced him for those same payments.
Right, because he lied and lied and lied and lied and lied and lied. Like he broke the lie up. Instead of one lie, it was a bunch of little lies. But it's still a lie and it's still criminal.
So again, it's still just one payment.
Nope. No, it is not. And again, this goes to torturing someone before you murder them. Look, I just killed them, all right? The stuff I did for months while they were in my basement is nobody's business. What, are they dead? Yes. Did I kill them? Yeah. One thing. And I've never murdered anybody before. I mean, I've tortured a bunch of people, but you can't say, you don't know what happened. He's not around to tell you. So why am I yes, there was blood all over the floor. I don't know if it was from months ago or now. Look, that's bullshit. Look, all you need to know is he's dead now. One thing happened. That guy died. That's all you can charge me with. What do you mean that you can tell from the body? And you're going to charge me with torture, kidnapping, wrongful restraint, but how the what? Just charge me with the murder and let's call it a day. I'll be out in 8 years.
They've now broken in.
I never even knew the guy. Like we barely talked while he was in my basement. I mean, his mouth was he had a. It's a long story.
To 22 different charges. Okay,
because Trump broke the crime up into 22 different pieces and lied every time. He engaged in a criminal act, in an ongoing criminal activity. Now, let's stop. Let's go back to my analogy about the torture and death of some poor sap in my basement. Now, let's say I'm torturing this person, but at some point I come to my senses and I go, you know what? I can't do it. I can't follow through. I can't kill this guy. It's just wrong. I was in the process of paying, somebody paid me to kill this guy. And I'm breaking up this whole murder into making it look personal to cover, right? So, but I'm torturing this guy, and he's kind of a nice dude. I feel bad. We had a couple, I made the mistake of taking his ball gag out to feed him the weird milk substitute to keep him alive while this happened. And, he's a funny guy. So I don't feel like killing him. In Stu's estimation, I should not be charged with torturing him and imprisoning him and hurting him because the crime would have been murder. I just didn't go all the way through with it. Does that make sense? I broke the crime up of eventually killing him into a bunch of little steps, starving him to death, cutting him, that kind of stuff, so that he would break down. Yeah? And I decided to not do it in the middle. So in between crime number 20 and potential crime number 21, which is the next day of torturing this person, I stopped. Does that make sense? So I don't get charged with the rest of them, but I don't get off for all the other fucking crimes because I stopped midway through doing all this shit. I got news for you. If you help somebody rob a bank and you're the getaway driver and you run a bunch of fucking red lights, you still get the tickets even if you jump out of the car and try to run away. You're still gonna get charged with running a red light. I'm just saying.
You might say, well, that's completely ridiculous. They couldn't get more ridiculous than that. Well, when the payments went through in the general ledger for Mr. Trump's trust, he used 12 entries to signify this. So that's the other 12.
Right. He defrauded in 3 different instances. That's how dumb he is.
So it's 11 checks.
Again, this motherfucker is so dumb, he couldn't give a check to his attorney, say, go to the bank, cash this, bring back the cash, and just leave it here. And then later on come by, I've got a duffel bag of personal items I want you to drop off to her, and since you're my attorney, no one can even talk about this. Now, granted, I bet you anything that he tried this shit later.
11 invoices.
Pokey says, I've never laughed about murder before. All right, well, I'm trying to, you guys, I'm making an extreme example to get through this. Also, and if you've never laughed at murder before, you've never seen Man Bites Dog, which is the most horrifying movie I've ever seen that made me laugh.
And 12 entries into the general ledger, those are the 34 charges. Come on. I mean, I might be, 22, 34, Come on. I mean, anyone could recognize they're trying to blow this number up to make it look more like it was a real series of criminal activity.
No, they're not. Each one of those are crimes you could charge someone with. They don't just get to, all right, just bust me for the payment. Fuck you. No, that's not how it works. You lied on this form. He lied on this form. You accepted the lie on this form. And then you took that lie and you lied on another form. That's different. Because if somebody breaks the law and they only did one of those things, they're going to get charged with one of those things. They can't come back later and go, wait a second. When Trump did this, he did all 3 of these things, and you guys didn't charge him for 2 of them.
Rather than just one thing. This is one payment. Now,
right. And he lied in 3 different places. This is all about business records to hide these payments. How the fuck do you think money laundering works, dumbass?
you can absolutely have a problem with that one payment. That is totally fine.
But that's not.
But that is
32.
And it's not how 34. That's
34,
not how the legal system's supposed to work. There are very clear warnings against prosecution.
Weirdly, it's not 36. 12 payments, right? One a month over that time. Why is it 2 of them, they'll gave him a mulligan?
Computers throughout our legal history that say, hey, don't inflate cases like this. Don't try to get the number up there just so it looks overwhelming to the general public. But of course,
no, it's not. It doesn't look overwhelming. It looks like a conspiracy to hide things through record keeping. And each one of those is a crime. And you have to charge them because that's the nature of this kind of a crime. And if you let anybody walk on any part of it, it creates an entire dark spot in our legal system for anybody who wants to commit that crime later.
Of course, that's what they're doing here.
No, they're not.
Because this is all about the general public. It's got...
Oh, there was only one payment in the 12th month? There was 12 payments once a month for a year.
Nothing to do with him and his business records. Come on.
It literally had to do with his business records.
There's no way you can justify this, especially...
Yeah, it is, because it didn't even come out of his fucking pocket. It came out of the trust, which is a legal trust that owns some of his businesses. His businesses are protected under a trust. That's how he does it. That's how he hides all this shit.
Especially after the statute of limitations has already expired.
It's unbelievable.
That's the other thing. Like, stop falling back on the statute of limitations. That's just an admission of guilt, dum-dum.
That's unbelievable. 30.
It's not, because none of us get a pause for 4 fucking years where you can't be charged with a crime. Nobody else, except the President of the United States, gets a break from criminal prosecution while they're in office. Nobody. That's why. That's why there has to be a presidential exception to the statute of limitations, because their whole life legally is on pause until they're done. On behalf of the American people.
32 counts.
34.
No, 32 counts. I don't count one of the checks and one of the entries on a different month. They're both from different.
So the April check and the July payment. You're
Yes,
just like, no.
I thought the entry was. I thought he meant it at that point.
That particular one.
Yeah, that particular one. So I'm convicting on 32 counts. And
then you've got Michael Cohen, who's the guy who's going to come in here, and they say this is an interesting one that they also frame.
It is interesting
in the New York Times story. So they say that AIDS and
wait a minute, you're citing the mainstream media? How am I supposed to?
Friends who lied on Mr. Trump's behalf will take the witness stand to testify against him. They include David Pecker, the tabloid publisher who bought and buried damaging stories about Mr. Trump.
Yeah, you do also realize that nobody gives a shit if they were liars before, because you have the evidence of what actually happened. What they were lying about, there's evidence that they were lying. That evidence is now undisputed fact. And that evidence shows that if they admit to what's in that evidence that they were originally found lying about is true, even if they tried to lie again.
Now, Pecker, I don't think we'll see. Maybe he's going to testify against Donald Trump, or he's just going to tell the truth that, they probably did catch and kill these stories. Like seems like
what he did.
There's incredible amount of evidence on that front, but that again is not what he's being.
I love how they're reveling in this. Again, anybody who operates under the illusion that these motherfuckers actually have Christian values or something, I feel bad for you. I don't know what happened to you when you were young. If you got hit with a softball bat at some point, or you ate a bad plum and you swallowed the pit. Whatever happened to you, your brain doesn't work, and you should check yourself into a cemetery probably immediately for treatment. But because these motherfuckers are like, that's what he does. I mean, that's what you do. You get rid of your fucking porn star stories.
Charged with, right? Like the payments and the ledger entries are what he's being charged with, not the fact that he wanted to minimize publicity about negative instances right before an election, which of course he was trying to do.
Of course he was trying to do that. Well, Stu, he's saying he wasn't. He's saying it was all just about his wife. But he had a meeting with David Pecker and Michael Cohen specifically about this shit and how it would affect him in the election. And David Pecker was working during the primary to help him win that. That's the issue here. And again, The federal crime, as far as the FEC, it's a totally different setup than what the state has to go for. And the state has the ability to prosecute these crimes based on them being inside the state. If the feds don't want to do it, that's not their problem.
Mm-hmm. He made a mistake, and it was
a mistake. Yeah, we have tape of the mistake. Here it is. That was it. That was the entirety of it.
only trying to save his marriage. A man can't lie to save his marriage.
Right.
I mean,
look.
I can't take it. I can't take it.
They're going to.
Here I gotta be honest. I don't know why on his third wife he'd have to lie at all. I gotta tell you, if I was on my third wife, I think if my wife was worth a damn, I would hope that I was, leveling up each time, that either I wouldn't want to, or we would have an arrangement and we'd be basically an aging French couple, and if you want a little action, you go do that. You just don't embarrass me, It's okay. We can do this. It's fine.
To try to push all of these angles. Hope Hicks is another one. Now, Hope Hicks, they say spokesperson who tried to spin reporters is her description here. Now, Hope Hicks, again, I don't think is going to come out and testify against Donald Trump.
Yeah.
In air quotes. I think.
Have you read her book?
She's going to tell the truth about what happened.
Which is her testifying, because she's telling the truth about what happened. Let me tell you something, Stu. The truth, the real truth, is always testifying against Donald Trump. It's that's how Earth works.
Right? Like I don't think anyone's saying that she has this vendetta against Trump. Now, Cohen does, right? Cohen.
Why? Why would he? Why?
Clearly does. And Cohen will go farther, my guess is, than either of those other two.
Oh. Yeah, well, he was closer to Trump than either of those other two. It's weird.
Oh, yeah.
There's almost like a ring of closeness. Like the closer you were to Trump, the worse the stench is. And the more you react to it.
A lot.
Yeah.
He'll say anything. This is what he was known for before when he worked for Trump.
This is how he gets a job at MSNBC.
Yep.
No, actually, he got a job for finally coming around. That's the whole mea culpa idea. But specifically, let's clarify something. All he's there to do is to verify Pecker's testimony and to verify his audio recordings. Is this you? Yes. Did you record this? Is that Donald Trump speaking on the other? Yes, it is. Did you record this? What was the context of this? And if Trump wants to sit up and fucking push back on it, he can. But all he's there to do is go, yeah, that's a picture. And this, yes, Stormy Daniels says this. Is that what you said to her? Yes, it is. That's why Trump's not going to testify.
And how he got a job with Donald Trump, right? Like he wasn't qualified for that job.
Yeah, Trump doesn't hire people who are qualified. Some of them become qualified after they come to their senses. Ask Lev Parnas.
He's a nobody. And he was...
And he just wanted to be around somebody.
Constantly lying about everything when he worked for Donald Trump.
Yeah, but that's, in all fairness, that's how Trump talks.
And now he's constantly lying about everything.
Oh, sorry. President Trump agrees Terasu, the vice president of the Liberal Democratic Party of Japan. Okay, yeah, he's got...
thing that will please MSNBC. He's been a constant liar every day he's been alive since I've been aware of it.
No, he hasn't. When you first became aware of him, he was lying on behalf of Donald Trump, and it was found out that he was a liar. He went to jail for lying, and now he's telling the truth because the reference point is not our opinion about what he says, but the evidence of what he actually recorded between him and Trump. This is fucking stupid.
That's been who he has been. He's always done this.
Then everything is a lie. Then this is a lie. Bzz, bzz, bzz. I figured it out, Spock. Everything I say is a lie. Work on that, you fucking dumb computer. Mr. Spock, I figured out a way to beat Stu. And no, it doesn't involve throwing a hamburger with a fish hook in it in the middle of the street. No. We tried that before. We lost a perfectly good fish hook. Listen, I'm going to tell Stu I'm a liar. and that everything I say is a lie, including the statement that I'm a liar. And as soon as he falls over and starts undulating, use the special spectro thing to. I know he always looks like he's undulating, but specifically when he just listen. Then you could beam me up. Kirk out.
In my opinion. And so he is one of those people that, of course, they're saying Trump is like basically saying like this guy has no credibility, and it's true. And
no, he used to have no credibility because Trump hired him to specifically lie.
You can name 500 things from when he worked for Donald Trump when he had no credibility.
Right. Because Trump hires people to lie on his behalf. What the fuck?
A lot of the lies they know are lies are because he was lying on behalf of Donald Trump for.
Oh dear. Stu, I don't know what it is. You just kind of breeze right by it. You're scaring the shit out of Glenn. If you keep this up, he's gonna drop a log. Because I gotta tell you, yeah, that's the point, stupid.
So many years. And now he's coming out here. He's like, no, now I've totally changed my mind. And all of the things I said before, I can admit are lies. And suddenly the media embraces him for that.
For telling the truth now? This is Stu, again, how do you get this close to like having an epiphany and avoid it? I mean, I guess that's how you get a job sitting next to Glenn Beck for a living. What the shit? It's sort of glorious in its own way, I gotta say. Let's see. Now, do I have... I have so much stuff. I'm never going to be able to cover it all. It's just so much stuff. But, yeah, I don't have time for that. But I do have... let's go to, if I may. Can I take a sidestep? It's still at the Blaze, but I'll take a sidestep for a moment to a personal topic for myself. And we won't do the whole video on this. I don't think we'll have to. But this is one of those situations where you're like, you ever know the Republicans are having a hard time figuring out what side of an issue they're on? You notice that? Where they're like, TikTok is bad, but now Democrats want to get rid of TikTok, so it must be good. I can't forget the... Spock got figured it out. All you have to do is catch them in a conundrum, and they can't beam out of the atmosphere. I'm just going to stand here and say the truth until they double over in pain. It's kind of like, we call it the truth bend, Spock. Okay. I don't know why I'm going to continually do that. Because it's here. That's why. Because it's sitting here, and it taunts me. So, this is cyber threats from China. Wait a second. So, FBI warns of cyber threats from China, but what's the truth? That's a good point. What's the truth? That there's cyber threats from China, I think? Or is it all a big setup? You motherfucker. So, is a cyber... let's see.
FBI Director.
Hey, y'all.
Christopher Wray.
Oh, yeah, I know that guy. Trump appointee, right? He kicked out Comey because Comey was investigating him and would have let them look into his finances. And he's like, I got to get rid of this fucking guy. And then he put in Chris Wray, who has a perfect record of supporting Donald Trump because Trump knows the best people and he puts them in the right position and everybody knows he's doing the right thing. And so they can't help but something.
Was sounding the warning bells for Americans yesterday at the Vanderbilt University Summit on Modern Conflict and Emerging Threats.
I feel threatened by your loud voice.
Saying that Chinese government-linked hackers have already infiltrated into critical infrastructures.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for months, dum-dum. It's mostly circuitry that, in stuff like cranes at docks and shit like that.
Which,
obviously, you didn't hear anything about this during the Trump years. Weird. It's funny that Biden's in office and the Chinese clearly paid Biden all this money that he never got to do stuff for them. And all of a sudden, while Biden's in office, they're suddenly like getting aware of this and they're dealing with this threat. And during Trump's years, they just kind of, Xi Jinping was handling COVID like a total pro and he trusts him implicitly, right? She's loud.
Sounds
to the
really
average
awesome.
person, critical infrastructure is largely invisible. These are sectors whose existence we don't often think about or appreciate as long as they're working right. But these vital sectors, we're talking about everything from water treatment facilities and energy grids to transportation and information technology, form the backbone of our society.
Yes, so far, right, yeah.
And what a lot of Americans may not be tracking closely is that China is positioning its enormous hacking enterprise, remember, 50 to 1, for more than just the outrageous theft campaign I described a few minutes ago. It's using that math.
Wait a minute. She cut past the outrageous theft campaign? Why? What is the Blaze up to? Why will the Blaze why do they refuse to show China's outrageous theft campaign?
Those numbers to give itself the ability to physically wreak havoc on our critical infrastructure at a time of its choosing. The PRC has made it clear that it considers every sector that makes our society run fair game in its bid to dominate on the world stage, and that its plan is to land low blows against civilian infrastructure to try to induce panic and break America's will to resist.
Yes, this is clearly true. Ask anybody who's following this. Watch the China show. Those guys will set you straight. You know what? I don't trust this guy at all because Trump hired him to take care of him and he didn't do it. I don't like him. And so therefore, I think I'm on China's side now.
Great. So what are we going to do about that?
We're already doing it, stupid.
Chris. And also, no duh. Right? Like, yes, this is how China has been playing its game for a very long time now.
Yeah, but they did it during the Trump years completely uninterrupted, and now the Biden administration is what's the phrase? Interrupting them.
Where's the solution?
Well, I would say the Chips and Science Act was a great step forward, wouldn't you, ma'am? Y'all? Hold on, I feel like we need a specialist, someone who speaks y'all in here at some point. I don't have to look, I don't know where. Yeah. Did somebody say y'all? Oh my God. Look at her. She's dreaming. She looks like a aging CrossFit Christian hand model. I'm so excited I could barely stand my stench.
I'd like a solution-oriented administration.
They are doing, they're doing shit, right? He's not just going around talking to colleges about it. They're letting you know it's a serious thing. They did that Chips and Science Act. I don't know if y'all, did you notice that? You're against it.
Do you think that it is possible that, because it's never happened before, that China would introduce a virus of some kind into the United States?
Well, if they were going to do it, you fucking twat, it would be what they probably want to do. And I'm just spitballing here. Work with me. I'm no military expert. But let's say I had a super virus, but if anybody caught wind of it, no pun intended, they could protect themselves against it. So what you do is that's your A virus, right? That's the one that'll get everybody, but it's got to pass freely. People got to, not be afraid to touch each other and hang out and all that kind of stuff. So you send in your B virus. You send that one in, right? You understand? And the B virus, it kills a bunch of people, but not everybody, right? And it's not as specific and it kind of rolls around and shit like that. And then you let that loose in there, okay? You let that loose in the country you're trying to attack. And then you get dumb fucks like this to talk people out like, not everybody's dying. Nobody has to wear a mask. Nobody wants a vaccine. And then and everybody gets all frustrated and fights amongst themselves. And then the next time you send in the A virus and all these fuckers are a little slower on the uptick to to deal with it, and by the time they figure out it's bad, it's too late. Now, nobody who would create a virus just to kill people would do that, would they?
No.
Also, this guy's a dumbass. I'd just like to say everything I was saying, I'm fucking around, just so you know. I don't know what the shit he's talking about. This YouTube algorithm.
Well, that would never happen.
Never
That's
happen.
silly.
It is silly. You know what? There's this shit. I got this in here somewhere. Let me find. I think there was a hi chat room. By the way, love you guys. You guys are awesome. Hold on, I gotta find something because there's this little piece of information I gotta get for you. There was this thing we saw, and I just want I like sharing. Sharing is caring. If you know Sharon, you know why I say that. Yummity dumbly. Yum. Okay, so go in here and you click on that and you do that thing right there and then you click here. I'm working on it. This is hard. Work with me. Okay, there we go. Now go into this shit and then you go, because Hal put up this video before, and I just like to share this with the dumbasses on that panel. And just, we all like to have a little bit of information. Just plug it into your head. You know what I mean? You just plug it right into your head. So here we go. Let's check in on this dumb motherfucker. Hey, remember this guy? He's Mr. Grabby Hands.
The Obama administration did hit pause on gain-of-function research, though.
You don't say.
And that was lifted under your watch. What?
Da-da-da-dump, da-da-da-dump, da-dump, donk, da-da-da-dump, da-da-da-dump, ba-dump, da-da-da-dump, ba-da-da-dump. That's that Curb Your Enthusiasm's theme song.
Why did you allow the gain-of-function research to continue?
Good question, lady.
Well, I think probably people that worked for me looked at it and...
Yeah, that's leadership for you. Pass the buck. Quick.
At one point, they might have done that, but ultimately, what we did was we shut it off. We shut the whole thing off, and we stopped making payments that were approved much earlier than our...
Yeah, but those were security payments to make sure viruses didn't get out of that lab. That's what that funding was for. That was to make sure that they, buttoned up the area, that they had enough people there, that they had the materials and the facilities to make sure these viruses didn't escape. That was the funding you're talking about.
Our administration.
Mm-hmm.
Do you regret now not paying closer attention? I mean, this gain-of-function research is extremely risky.
Say yes, dum-dum. Say yes.
Banned under the Obama administration and then kick-started in 2017 under your watch.
Yeah, now would be a good time. I'll tell you, now would be a good time to go, you know what? Thinking back, we missed that boat, let me tell you, and it won't happen again. I took it for granted that they were good partners and stuff, and boy, did we all learn a valuable lesson about that shit, and we got to stop it. We got to make sure we never, and that's probably what he says. He probably says, yep, you're right. It was a terrible thing to do, and a weird thing that we cut off the funding for security, and we allowed gain of function to go forward, and then a couple of years later, like fucking clockwork, just like they said in the pandemic response team manual that was left behind from the team that I fired, wouldn't you know it, son of a bitch shit. Look at this. We had a pandemic. Who'd have thought? What are the odds?
Yeah, no, I think we've done an incredible job between the vaccine and between all of the Operation Warp Speed. I think we did a great job, and people are now starting to see what a great job we did.
Hey, real quick. What's the word I'm looking for? No, they fucking well are not. You dumbass. That's what we call, in my area, all ate up with the dumbass. Holy shit. How did he not? What? Now, the hard part is, what happens if this hold on, let me find him again. Back the fuck up. What happens, real quick, what happens if this shit stick figures out? What if he sees that clip? Then what? then where will he be with his anti-vax fucking Trump did the right thing attitude? Gee whiz.
Kind into the United States?
No, that would never happen.
Never
That's
happen.
silly. But it does
I'm not sure, but this seems like sarcasm.
make me think.
Well, go easy. It is the first time for everything, and it can be brutal. Believe me, I put off thinking as long as I could because I understand it hurts.
What was it, yesterday or the day before? They had
I don't know. You should keep a journal. The first time you think it's a red letter day.
all of those 911 outages in all those different states in the country. Was that related?
Are they still off? Does that seem like something they might have? Did they go down and stay down? So there was either a response, so it was either an accident or on purpose, and whatever it was, they were able to get it working again. So if it was on purpose, Ray's doing a good job, so fuck off.
If only we had a president that said we should bring the manufacturing home.
We literally do, Mr. Fuck the Chips Act.
No one would. That's crazy, Matt. Who would?
That's more of that sarcasm. That's what gives spice to the thing. At some point, I feel like they're all auditioning to sit on Glenn's lap.
Never
make chips in this country.
No.
Make drugs in this country.
Really? You kidding me, right? Oh, you know what? I feel free. It's amazing. I'm not the dumbest person in the world. It's like a weight has been lifted off of what's left of my brain. Yeah, you heard that right.
Who would ever want
make
that?
chips in this country?
No.
Make drugs in this country?
It ain't just that, dude. China is manufacturing.
Yeah, tell them.
We were talking about this.
Yeah, China is manufacturing. They were just
It's like
talking
on the other set with our respective careers. And how much is ran out of China.
Yeah, that's true. How much is ran out of China?
It's insane. But you find out more information on it. It has nothing to do with like just because China can provide it for cheaper because of slave labor. That has almost nothing to do with it.
It has almost everything to do with it.
It's more because the American people, the American government more accurately, is crippling its own folks with all these damn regulations.
Okay. Did these assholes, are they assigned articles to read by Glenn Beck and that's their news diet? So regulations are the reason. Yeah, it's stupid Americans who don't want to be, they're water poisoned with toluene and benzene and fucking coal dust. Is that what the fuck?
That do not allow folks to produce altogether, or let alone at a
what? Like what? Name one thing.
At a cheaper price. It's insane.
It's so insane. The regulations. You can't make a phone in America because they won't let you cut the glass.
I mean, even in the toy industry, why do you... America, believe it or not, in the toy and like sculpture, like manufacturing, has zero infrastructure. All these toys that you guys see are made in either China, Taiwan. I think India's gotten the game for the most part. It wasn't always this way.
Right. But since it went that way, the American economy has grown inexorably.
But now it is. There's zero infrastructure. No matter how much money that you had, there's zero infrastructure for you to basically get that done in America. See,
get what done? You can't build it. You can't make toys in America. You can hand make them. You can make specialty toys. You can 3D print shit. You can do injection molding here. What's the problem? You can't just do it. You can't do it cheap enough and pay people what they're worth to do it.
I think that he makes an argument for decentralization.
Yeah.
More than anything. That's what I hear. That's what I hear, because it's like, okay,
who?
We can't trust you.
Right.
And remember, he specifically brought the grid. There happens to be one grid that isn't attached to theirs.
Texas? You mean the one that's easier to knock down than the rest of the grid?
Maybe that's a more preferable situation because
No, it hasn't been. Which grid has failed more, the Texas grid or the rest of the fucking country? We'll wait.
Assume that they are successful and they hack something. We wouldn't want that to apply countrywide, would we?
No, we wouldn't, because there's hospitals everywhere. Because there are schools with children in them. And God forbid it happens during a secondary emergency, we wouldn't be able to warn them about a flood or a tornado or just fucking have the lights on.
Right.
No, but that when we talk about solutions, to me that sounds like more or less the solution, right?
I don't know what you're saying.
Like centralization has created a problem that these guys, you are so scared.
Centralization? Everybody, all right, there's a unified grid, but he's not talking about the entire country going down all at once. They have protections against that. Everything's kind of separate in that regard. Like a smart grid would help manage power if somebody shut off Northern California or something else, and you could shuffle where the energy was going to keep energy flowing. But each state has its own energy company for the most part. I don't know what the fuck. What he's saying is central planning. He thinks this is Chris Wray trying to turn us into China by warning about attacks on the grid.
That they at some point, it seems more like it's inevitable, not if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when it's going to happen, that they're going to come in and hack something, be it our grid, be it talking about the water supply as far as treatment is concerned.
Yeah, just how we treat our water. Do we pet it with a little feather or we smack it on its bum?
That sounds like a problem.
Thanks, man.
But it sounds like
it's great. I'm glad we're having this roundtable. A hole in my intellect and philosophy is being filled right now with shit, apparently, with garbage. Just like I don't know, maybe it's untreated water. Is that what that smell is?
A you problem that you don't know how to fix, that you don't know how to more or less prevent. But sitting here saying that they may or may not do it doesn't necessarily help us. Or they 50-1. Is that what he said? I guess
we know they're going to do. We know they're capable. We know they are.
Right. What he means with 50-1 is the population, as far as like how many hackers they would have versus people we have to respond and the like. That's what we're talking about. I don't know what the fuck that dude was talking about. All I can think of is he somewhere went, like he was talking to her about trying to get toys made, and you have to get them made in China if you're going to make a profit. That seemed to be his gripe, because he doesn't want to pay for what it would cost to do here, because apparently he wants to use lead paint in the toys he makes.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, that's the point. Like, it's like, okay, telling us that is not necessarily helpful by any means.
Right. And
it's a summit about he didn't just run outside, you dumb motherfuckers. He's literally speaking at an event about that topic.
That's why I'm saying, like, yeah, no shit.
I think
China's gonna try to attack us from the inside? No way! I would have never guessed that.
So to me, what that says is look how bad it is, because we've known this for many, many years.
Right.
Well, apparently we didn't, because under Trump, it was never going to happen. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't even try. I mean, they had their fake police stations here. He didn't do anything about it. They had at least four of their spy balloons go over that during his time that we know of. There may have been more. And then we know, of course, that a lot of this gear that came into the country back and forth, he didn't put tariffs on that shit at all. And that gear is what has the electronics in it that they can still access via Wi-Fi and other stuff that could possibly like gack up our shipping and all that other stuff and logistics across the country.
They're not addressing the border, right, where there's actual physical Chinese coming over.
Physical Chinese? Oh my God. And he's worried about the Chinese that are over there sitting in a CCP hacker farm that's actively targeting our grid, when he could be targeting the Chinese people that, by and large, are trying to escape that shit.
Right? That can actually,
What can they actually do? Go into an internet cafe, plug in a thumb drive, and take down after saying, "We're in."
do an attack on it, a physical attack, let alone.
Yeah, physical attack, like a kung fu attack.
So what would happen if they shut down the grid, right? They shut down the internet,
While their spies were over here, right as they were about to do it, they're like, aha, physical attack. I'm here to, I'm a Chinese ninja guy thing. I'm here to destroy America. Fuck, the lights went out. Do we wait? Hang on. I want to do my physical attack, but I maybe it's a breaker. You want to look or should I? Fuck. This is embarrassing. My whole fucking... I was going to have my physical attack, and I got to call home. Where in the world am I supposed to... I know. I'll use this rigged Game Boy as my communication device. 你好，喂，是我。你在做什么? Hi, it's me. Wei, what are you doing? That's what I said. All right. Anyways.
start paralyzing things. Well, they've all got a plan to. That's what you do if you're a competent military. Is then you'd start moving your pieces where they need to go.
Yeah, it's like risking it.
By the way, I want to tell people about this. I don't know if you guys know about this. A few years ago, there was an attack on a substation outside of San Francisco. Do you know about this? There were armed guys that shot out. They tried to shoot out fans on the electrical substation.
During Trump,
that would have sent the heat up in the substation, melt it down. I found out about it. You can go and look it up. It happened. We did nothing. We did nothing, and
we gave them all secret jobs in Ray's office. Real quick, do I have to? I do, don't I? Okay, here we go. Attack substation, gunfire, something like that. Metcalf guys, substation fire burns in San Francisco. The Metcalf sniper attack. This is the easy running hours of April 16, 2013. A group or individual would attack an electric. Okay, assault on California's power station raises alarm on potential. Here we go. This is potential terrorism. There we go. This is San Jose, California. The attack. Join me, won't you? The attack began just before 1 a.m. on April 16th last year when someone slipped into an underground vault not far from a busy freeway and cut telephone cables. Within half an hour, snipers opened fire on a nearby electrical substation, shooting for 19 minutes. They surgically knocked out 17 giant transformers that funneled power to Silicon Valley. A minute before a police car arrived, the shooters disappeared into the night. To avoid a blackout, the electrical grid officials rerouted power around the site and asked power plants in Silicon Valley to produce more electricity, but it took utility workers more than 27 days to make repairs and bring the substation back to life. Nobody has been arrested or charged in the attack at PG&E's Metcalf transmission substation. It is an incident of which a few Americans are aware, but one former federal regulator is calling it a terrorist act that, if it were widely replicated across the country, would take down the U.S. electrical grid and black out much of the country. The attack was the most significant incident of domestic terrorism involving the grid that has ever occurred in the U.S., and John Wellinghoff, who was chairman of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission at the time, said the Wall Street Journal assembled a chronology of the Metcalf attack from filings PG&E made to state and federal regulators, from other documents including a video released by the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department, from interviews including Mr. Wellinghoff. A 64-year-old Nevadan who was appointed to FERC in 2006 by President George W. Bush and stepped down in November, said he gave closed-door high-level briefings to federal agencies, Congress, and the White House last year. As months have passed without arrests, he said, he has grown increasingly concerned that an even larger attack could be in the works. He said he was going, which didn't happen, but okay. He said he was going public about the incident out of concern that the national security is at risk and critical electrical grid sites aren't adequately protected. The Federal Bureau of Investigation doesn't think a terrorist organization caused the Metcalf attack, said a spokesman for the FBI in San Francisco, and they're continuing to sift through the evidence. Some people in the utility industry share Mr. Wellinghoff's concerns, including a former official at PG&E. This wasn't an incident where Billy Bob and Joe decided after a few brewskis to come in and shoot up a substation. This was an event that was well thought out, well planned, and they targeted certain components. When reached, Mr. Johnson declined to comment further. A spokesman for PG&E said the company takes the incident seriously, but declined to discuss the Metcalf event in detail for fear of giving information to potential copycats. We won't speculate about the motives of the attackers, added the spokesman, and that is that. Okay, so that's that attack. There you go. So that was, and back to here. This is what he's talking about. This is in 2013.
Here's the other thing.
Yeah, the other thing.
Our,
I know those guys personally.
our electrical grid is antiquated.
Yeah, but real quick, as antiquated as it is, the idea that you would have teams of snipers that could take down the entire... They weren't even able to take down power from Silicon Valley when they shot the main one that went in there. They were able to route the power another direction. It did nothing. They had to rebuild the fucking thing, but it didn't work. You know how many people you would have to fucking need to shoot down enough of those things to actually make a goddamn impact?
Russia and China both have a grid now that's been updated.
Mm-hmm. You mean centralized? Centrally controlled? An updated grid they have control over from the federal government that they have there? The main government, the CCP, controls the grid, and the other guy across the table, the asshole, was warning you about?
Ours is like from, I don't know if it's even from the 1950s.
No, it is not.
That would cost, to completely change our entire electrical grid, about $9 billion. Why are we sending money to Ukraine? Why are we doing?
Because it's state funding that links them together. And there's already money to update the grid in the infrastructure bill, stupid.
We're all sitting there like, okay, it's 50-1. Take the $100 billion that you're sending to Ukraine and hire a bunch of hackers to go to compete against the Chinese.
That's what you need. We need to hire $100 billion worth of hackers.
What are we doing?
Well, if we tell you, they'll know too, stupid.
None of it ever makes sense.
It kind of does, unless you only read a fifth of it.
But China's positioned itself.
Oh boy!
I'll give you a black pill first, but then I'll give you a white one. But China has positioned itself to where if they were to do something like that, because they provide so much of our goods, they're in this weird position where it's like America may even be forced to play ball.
What? Okay, this is like the argument that the BRICS cryptocurrency, which will be pegged to the dollar, will actually destroy the dollar.
White pill is China has its own issues, by the way, as well, especially with their own damn people. Yeah. So maybe something happens out of that would deter them from actually doing something. But it is something worth paying attention to.
Shouldn't be
right. You're sounding a little bit in that moment like, what are we doing? Why are you talking about it? Why are we just talking about it? Because none of you understand it and other people are handling it?
Relying on that, though.
I agree.
We shouldn't be relying on them.
We should be proactive. No, we shouldn't be relying on it.
We shouldn't rely on people who can attack us to not attack us. We should attack them while they're not attacking us, because they can't. While they still can't, we should attack them. And you know that thing where they're going to attack civilian infrastructure, which is anathema to the way we live our lives and the values that we espouse? Fuck that. Let's attack their civilian infrastructure before they attack ours, which would give them a reason to attack ours. Fuck.
Chinese people to take it to their own government. No, for sure. I would agree 1,000%. I think this is where decentralization should be talked about more. I think the regulatory body, particularly in manufacturing, should be
yeah, we need more lead paint and toys. Thanks for bringing that back.
Addressed.
Also, you're wearing a Sonic the Hedgehog hat. I mean, you can't pick an American video game, man. I mean, I know it's popular over here, but it was designed in Japan. What's wrong with you? You even World War II, bro?
Immediately, like right now.
Yeah, totally.
All right, that would be my argument.
It's a great argument. What?
You should go out there, if you're a Republican especially, trying to get rid of all of these laws and regulations that really prevent the American people from producing in their own damn countries. Because
like what? Here's a good idea. Give us one. The no lead paint rule.
It's too expensive.
Do you know what I think?
Because it's too expensive. This fucking living wage bullshit.
About often.
The fact that this dude is arguing the like, what's this bullshit about you can't do it without slave labor nonsense because that gives China the edge. Fuck that. We should be able to have slave labor in America again. That's essentially the argument, I think.
Back when before COVID was a thing here, and it was just in China.
Mm-hmm. I was there.
And they sent out all of those videos of people
yeah.
dropping dead in the street.
They didn't send them out. People filmed them and put them on social media over there, and the Chinese government took them down.
And then that like literally never happened here, and nobody.
That's because we treated people. What, do you know what walking? Look, most people who have walking pneumonia in the United States either die in the hospital or get treated in a hospital or die at home. They don't, and if they do keel over someplace because they're hacking up a fucking lung, someone runs to save them, which the Chinese population has been trained not to do.
Ever got to the bottom of like who sent those videos out?
Oh my God. The people that filmed them. The question isn't that the videos got out, it's that they stopped getting out.
What, you know, was that
BS?
Chinese, right, CCP propaganda to
Yeah, that's what it was.
scare Americans? I mean, I would argue
if it was, why'd they stop releasing it? Why did it all stop when it hit the rest of the world?
it would have to have been because
you're stupid and you can't process reality?
they were just dropping dead in the streets, and that's really weird because no.
Again. Are we China? Do we run like China? Do we have a system like China? What do you think happens when somebody keels over in the United States in general in front of a bunch of other people? Even when they won't touch the person, they call for an ambulance and someone comes and gets them.
Nobody did that here for COVID.
That's because it didn't go that far, because we were prepared for it at the time and we give a shit. There was no social safety net there.
COVID, and like everyone just seemed to forget about it.
No, we know, but you're an idiot.
Well, and do you remember when they showed videos of them welding them into their apartment?
Yeah, well, yeah.
buildings? Like,
yes.
and nobody's asking any questions. This is this.
What do you mean nobody's asking any questions? What's the question? Will that work? What question are we supposed to ask? Oh, well, that's interesting. Hey, Gary, come here for a second. The Chinese are welding people into their apartments. It beats the shit out of forcing them to stand. Yeah, you know, padlock apparently won't work, and a lot of them have metal things, so they just, if they test positive, they just weld their door shut. That's right, and they're on a high rise, so they can't get out. Yeah. Do you think that would work here? I mean, I'm just asking questions.
Is the issue is all on the American people. We can.
What? What? Sorry. It's up to the American people and our government to deal with something when it happens here. Yes, what happens here is all on the American people. It is not on the American people to clean up fucking what's going on in China, much as it would have been nice.
We can point here, we can point there, but it's all on us.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Because people are not getting engaged. They're not asking questions.
Okay, they're asking all kinds of questions. You just have dumb answers. And all three of these are in a paranoid sinkhole.
Like I said, let's just see what's going on TikTok, which is a Chinese propaganda tool as well.
Right.
So you're like,
yeah, but remember we watched the video last time. She doesn't know. Like it. TikTok is it's a good outlet, but it is owned by China. But it's so much fun, and I can't stop it.
And you know what was funny? I just want to segue across to something. When we were going through yesterday the jurors and where they got their information from. TikTok. It wasn't like maybe 6-7 years ago. It would have been Facebook, Instagram, right? It was TikTok.
Which still is a problem, I would say.
No, it wasn't. They included it with a bunch of other things.
It's
not
all
be
a
getting
problem.
your news from Facebook or Instagram either.
It's all a problem, but it's really a problem when it's TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay, by the way, you're going to lose them on that because they don't agree. This is the one area where he and I agree. TikTok is malware. Get it the fuck off your phone. It's not a private company. It's owned by the Chinese government. They have designs on it. It's a social instability tool. That's what it's fucking for. We have plenty of American outlets. If you have a business on there, you can put it on fucking Instagram Reels and it'll work just as well. Like, this is just fucking stupid.
So, I mean, we're in a lot of trouble, and
no, we're not. You are. And she is. The other dude is. because you walk around all day, every day, bumping into the limits of your understanding, and you're angry at everyone else about
And
it.
again, as Eric always, well, we all always say, can we please look after America first? Can we please stop sending money away? By the way, we don't have it anyway, but can we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. And if you're going to stop something, if you're like, we can't afford shit, well, then Social Security is your boy, because that's the biggest cost. Single biggest part of the cost, period. Also, can I just say for the record, I'll make a prediction here, that we are heading swiftly towards a zero-cost labor, zero-cost expertise future that will effectively draw down debt in a shocking way. Oh, the Senate's about to start the vote? Okay, I will check in on that, Eric.
Can
but
we
they're gonna
just
pass
sort
it.
out
They will. I'm just going to call it. They're going to pass it.
our own infrastructure, please?
What the fuck are you talking about? You support Trump. Biden passed an infrastructure bill, you dumb motherfucker, and half of these people that you support show up at these ribbon cuttings on these things, and they voted against it. Why is this table not celebrating the high-speed rail groundbreaking that happened in Vegas? That's going to be the first high-speed rail line in the United States. Finally happening, actually happening, ground broke. They're processing it. The funding is already there. The company, the government funding and the company funding is already partnered up. It's already happening. That is going to occur. They broke ground and it's in process. Not, well, we finally finished the design phase. No, it's fucking done. It's gonna happen. Why are they not? Oh, because Biden. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, I really honestly thought that once COVID had actually happened, there were some silver linings, but I thought that one of them would be
fewer Americans.
That Americans would agree that letting China manufacture our medications is a problem.
Right, and that's why the Biden administration, both in the rescue package and the infrastructure bill, had rules about that, and specifically started funding the movement of backups for purchasing those kind of emergency drugs, especially from India and other companies in Europe specifically that we could rely on. Trump didn't do that, by the way. Could have. I mean, he knows more about ISIS than the generals. He should know more about disease than the doctors. Why didn't he see it coming? Right? The cupboards were bare.
Because if there's anything that you really don't want to have a shortage of, if there were some worldwide crisis or pandemic, it's freaking medication, life-saving medication that people need. Maybe we should stop letting our enemy manufacture it and send it here.
Hey, stupid. That's made in China. Your hat's made in China. Your background's made in China. This cup, more than likely made in China, probably printed in China. The clothes all of you are wearing, made in China. I don't want to hear it. Stop talking about enemy until you're buying fucking bespoke clothing off of Etsy sewn in the United States. Eat a bag of frog assholes. This is dumb. Everything in that studio, the lights they have in this studio are made in China. I don't want to hear enemy shit. If you're going to get out, go, we bought all this stuff. We're not buying another fucking thing. All of this stuff, we're buying it from a Finnish company or a Swedish company, or we're buying it from a company that makes shit here in the United States. Or I don't want to fucking hear about it.
Thought, okay, Americans have seen the problem. That's something that I've been on for a while, but
Botox?
But nobody cared. Okay, well, this happened. Maybe now Americans have woken up. Maybe now they'll care.
What do you mean nobody cared?
And they'll do something about the fact that we should be producing our own freaking medication.
Hey, what do you know? This is weird. It's so funny that you bring this up now, considering in November 27th of last year, the Biden-Harris administration announced actions to bolster medical supply chain. As part of the inaugural meeting of the White House Council on Supply Chain Resilience, which is something that didn't exist before Biden and now exists, President Biden's Secretary of Health and Human Services, Javier Becerra, today announced new efforts to bolster the domestic supply chain for essential medicines and medical countermeasures. Weird. What the fucking... Who thought of... Why has no one thought about this? President Biden will issue a presidential determination broadening HHS's authorities under Title III of the Defense Production Act to enable investment in domestic manufacturing of essential medicines, medical countermeasures, and other critical inputs that have been deemed by the president as essential to the national defense. In addition, HHS will designate a new supply chain resilience and shortage coordinator for efforts to strengthen the resilience of critical medical product and food supply chains and to address related shortages. To ensure Americans always have the essential medicines and other critical medical products we need, we must have more control over our supply chains, HHS Secretary Becerra emphasized this afternoon at the inaugural convening of the White House Council on Supply Chain Resilience. In addition to having necessary data and insights for visibility into supply chain disruptions, we need to be better positioned to help our partners in the private sector mitigate supply chain disruptions. The actions we have taken today will continue to accomplish these goals. Hey, stupid, it's almost as if your whole fucking show and all your guests, the whole, maybe you're hired to be this fucking stupid. Maybe that's what it is, ma'am. The Blaze has given you a show and surrounded you with like-minded fucking morons, and your whole gig, and I'm sorry if I'm the one that has to break it to you, but your whole fucking gig is they'll give you a story point for today, and they'll tell you, go be outraged about this particular thing because it's crazy that this problem is not being solved. And in every sense, it's in reaction to the Biden administration having done something to deal with it months, if not years ago, so that you can bullshit Blaze viewers into thinking these problems aren't being dealt with. Or that by the time they figure it out or they hear about it, they think it was because you bitched about it. Because you guys went on, we should do something about this. And you find out, actually, they did something about it 7 months ago. Well, it's only because I brought it up. Ugh. That's your whole gig. That's your fucking job. Congratulations, dum-dum. You are the patron saint of idiot longevity at the Blaze. Meanwhile, as a proud Biden voter, fuck you for not paying attention. This is amazingly dumb. Holy shit. Yeah, and this show's on every day. Also, by the way, I would like to remind you, please subscribe to my show because this show, well, it's on the channel, so I wouldn't say the show, but you know what I mean. 1.99 million subscribers. That's right. Now, I know what you're saying. Hal, most of those are fake. They'd have to be because this show's been on for a day and it's only got less than 9,000 views. So you got 2 million subscribers, but only 9,000 people are watching any particular show. And these are topical, remember. These are shows that you know, by tomorrow, there'll be a new piece of news, right? You're not going to be looking back on this fucking program and going, you know what? I got to see what they said about this 8 months ago. Because I guarantee they were already behind, as I have proven today. So, anyways, that's enough of those dumb shits. But we can end on this. Let's see.
Mr.
Live.
Manchin, Mr. Markey, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McConnell, Mr. Menendez, Mr. Merkley, Mr. Moran, Mr. Mullen, Ms. Murkowski, Mr. Murphy, Mrs. Murray, Mr. Ossoff,
Langstrom's
Mr.
relaxed.
Padilla, Mr. Paul, Mr. Peters, Mr. Reed, Mr. Ricketts, Mr. Risch, Mr. Romney, Ms. Rosen, Mr. Rounds, Mr. Rubio, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Schatz,
Where's Shots? Shots, get back in there, Shots.
Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Schumer, Mr. Scott of Florida, Mr. Scott of South Carolina, Mrs. Shaheen, Ms. Sinema, Ms. Smith, Ms. Stabenow, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Tester, Mr. Thune, Mr. Tillis, Mr. Tuberville, Mr.
Working on it. Let's see. Shots fired. Is that what happens when he loses? You're gonna lose your election. Uh-oh, shots fired. Okay, I'm gonna open this up. I think they're just because we don't have on-screen graphics for this right here.
Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Vance,
President,
Mr. Warner, Mr.
today,
Warnock, Ms. Warren.
The Senate sends a unified message to the entire world. America will always defend democracy in its hour of need. We tell our allies, we will stand with you. We tell our adversaries, don't mess.
Fuck you. Right. Let's get to the tail end of this. Oh, that's sure. Okay. Okay. So it happened already. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer hails bipartisan vote to limit further debate on foreign aid package, includes funding for Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, saying today the Senate sends a unified message to the world. Okay, yeah. So it already happened. Passed. Cool. Hooray. Like I said it would, by the way. Look, I don't remind you guys that I'm right. Just for the ego of it. This little piece of it. But yeah. I'm telling you this because yeah, that was the passage, but they know they've got the votes, so it's gonna happen. We'll see if they go if I can get I wanted to get on screen where they put the votes up, so I'm looking for that real quick. But just for the record, I don't just tell you guys like that hold on, okay, let's go live to this. There we go. Yeah, watch live. There we go.
Van Hollen, Warner, Warnock, White House, Wicker, Wyden, Van Hollen, Warner, Warnock, Mr. Bozeman, White House, Wicker, Wyden, Mr. Hoven.
Aye.
Mr. Bozeman, Ms. Murkowski, Mr. Hoven. Aye. Mrs. Fisher, Ms. Murkowski.
There's like an echo. That's funny.
Mrs. Fisher. Aye. Ms.
Final vote.
Rosen. Aye. Ms. Rosen. Senators voting in the negative. Barrasso, Black.
How can I get Malcolm Nance on? Yes, I would love to get Malcolm on.
Barrasso, Black, Johnson, Lee, Braun, Lummis, Marshall, Merkley, Rubio.
Why is there an overlap? What is happening?
Marshall, Schmidt, Merkley, Scott of Florida.
Is there two of these playing? What's happening?
Welch,
C-SPAN, what's going on with you? Stop it.
Welch. No. Mr. Langford, aye.
There's a hidden something somewhere. Mr. Hawley, no. Vance, Welch, Hawley, no. So did Vance not vote? Langford said yes. Look at that. Vance, Welch, Mr. Hawley. Okay. All right. What's up? Yeah, you fucking say what you gonna say, dum-dum. They're waiting for somebody? I mean, it's gonna pass.
Mr. Lujan, aye.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Lujan, aye.
74, yeah, okay, there you go. So they're doing a roll call vote. Passed is 75, aye, no 17. This is for the final passage. Hey, get out of here with your silly, with your clothes. Off. Thank you. There you go. Final passage. As we say it, here we go. It's good. This is happening as we happen. That was a 75th vote. Yeah. Yes, 75 is definitely significant. And I don't know if they have 25 or 24 or whatever, whoever's missing, to vote no on this, or if anybody's going to vote present or not show up. Yeah, this is significant. And the 17 that are voting against it right now have all gotten either just bullheaded dickheads. A two-part show on the history of the conflict in the Middle East. Oh, nice. Or either just bullheaded pieces of shit that, like Rand Paul, who want bragging rights for being against everything, or they've gotten permission to sit it out because of their constituents in a particular state. I don't know how many Dems have voted against it because of Israel aid or something like that. That would be my guess. I doubt it, but we're getting there. Final passage happening right here on the show. You know what? And I said last week it was going to happen on Wednesday, and then Sunday we heard about that. I was like, or Saturday we heard it was going to happen. The vote was going to occur on Saturday. And they were like, nope, they're going to run interference. They're going to run it down. I was like, nope, it's going to come through. They wouldn't even bring it up. It wasn't going to happen because they're afraid. Like if the bluff gets called, it just looks like shit. And nope. And it passed just like I said it was. And now today's this vote, and then it will be signed, you know, tonight more than likely, unless the president wants officially to have a, you know, a visual signing of it. But yeah, would I have Keith Olbermann on? Of course. I like Keith. He steps over the line sometimes. I have an issue with like people who use, you know, language that can be construed as violent, right? That's an issue. Yeah, I love Noel. Noel's a good dude. But yeah, sometimes he'll do that. I'm like, no. I have a hard and fast rule on it, though. Some people don't. I do. Yeah. I could have him talk to Salty Cupcake, though. I think they get along. And maybe Salty could just interview him, you know? I'm fucking game, motherfucker. I'm fucking game. Yeah. I'm fucking Keith the shit out of this. I Keith you up. I wanna keep you up. That's right. Olbermann the Doberman. Let's do this, motherfucker. Come on. So, yeah. It's a possibility. So, still waiting on some people. This is live. Happening right now. What's the wind noise? That's my laptop cooking. This laptop right here is super loud. I've got it's very hot. You could iron a shirt with it. I'm using an old Mac laptop to run the soundboards. That's that one right there. And yeah. Would you debate John Stewart? Of course I would. I'd debate anybody. I mean, if it's not a waste of time, obviously. My slap chop is really loud. Is it, man? Sorry. Or congratulations. I don't know which. I don't know if they have a running tally. Should do a travelogue of national monuments. Call it Hal's Parks. That's very nice, Groove Dragon. I like that. I'm a big fan. That works. Maybe this is what we do when the world gets normal again. Is that okay? Like after Biden wins and we don't have to deal with Trump anymore, and there's obviously going to be shit to talk about, and there'll be Republicans trying shit, and we'll all worry about the midterms and Biden's health and blah, blah, blah. All that'll be all talking points. The news cycle's not going to stop, but we're not going to have to deal with him anymore. So I can kind of broaden out and just have some fucking fun. That'd be good. Vote, 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 vote. Kids today. They're just hanging out. Old hell's beer. I don't drink beer. I don't drink at all, so. Is that cinema? Yeah, it has to be. Leopard print and sneakers. Fucking, yeah. Kanye breast over here. The fucking. Oh boy. Would you have my dog on? Your dog on what? Big time whining will ensue? Absolutely. House Parks After Dark. That's my, it's gotta be on my OnlyFans channel. That's right. Yes, this is live. Yeah, absolutely. I'm fiddling with my... Spock, the vote isn't happening right now. I can't beam up until I find out what happened. I know, Spock. I know it. I know they're going to vote that way, but I've got to see it myself. I've got to. Gotta count. We have a thing we call democracy. It's where everyone has a say. We don't believe your people are quite ready for that yet, because you're still stupid. Shit, I've got to go. Spock, beam me up. These people are turning on me. I should have never beamed down to a planet where everyone is wearing Nazi uniforms. It was a mistake. I admit it now. Kirk out. I've got to, mister. Right. The live. There it is, live. It's happening. Vote, final people. Son of a bitch. What are you waiting for? There's McConnell. Yeah. What are you touching cinema for, Mr. Did you see that? I saw some physical contact. That was uncalled for. I'm a doctor, not a pool man, is what he actually says. Damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a pool man. So, all right, we're holding out. Just hang out. If you can't stay, I understand. I'm just gonna ride this one out. I figure like we gotta. I just want to see what happens. I know I'm going long, but sometimes it's required in football. Yeah, where are we? What? Who's left? Who's not there? Who's on? It's already settled, for fuck's sake. Just this final passage. So maybe that's it. Maybe they just called it. But they were going in alphabetical order, and they did not run out of letters. Can we go home right now? Can I check and see who's gonna get the fuck out of here? I'm keeping track. I'm just reading. I'm just seeing who. I just wanted to see who was left. You know, I don't mean to interrupt. You know, but I'm just checking because I have a thing. It's 6, and I'm just hoping I can make it. You know, since it's already. I mean, you have my vote. I don't know if. Do I have to come back if I? I want to be here when it passes, obviously, because I saw how aggravated
Mr.
they got.
Sullivan, Mr. Sullivan, aye.
Hey, Sullivan. 76. Number 76. Bring him in there. Sullivan, 76. 17. Bring it to 17 to 76. I think that'd be a great vote. Fuck them. That'd be hilarious. Okay, they didn't list it. Never mind.
Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Sullivan, aye.
Aye. Mr. Yeah. Mr. Sparrow. Mr. Sparrow. Arr. I'm sorry. So sorry. I think you're right, Captain Turp. I think there's a chance. It will pass. So it's good. I'm feeling good about it. See, apparently she's waiting to say, can I announce it? I wore my yellow dress. It's in season this year. Everyone's wearing highlighter. You know, for kids. 76 to 7. It's 1776.
Ms. Warren, aye.
Well, that's not a surprise. Warren, we're getting close to the end. Mr. Zorro. Hey. Mr. Widezorek. Fuck that. No.
Ms. Warren, aye.
She already said that. Why are we hearing it twice? There's a weird echo. Is this Monsters, Inc.? Yes, it is. I just want to say, I hate you all. Okay? I know you were going to vote this way. It's un-American and awful. And the people of Wyoming will not stand for it. All 375,000 some odd. I don't count the Indians, even though I wear their jewelry. No, I do not. I will never forgive you. I'm Harriet Hagman, and I do not forgive you! Even though some of you are very cute.
Mr. Cardin, aye. Mr. Cruz, no.
What a surprise. Cancun Cruz votes no. It's 18 to 77 right now. We're getting close to the end. These are the people who missed, so they are coming back in.
Mr. Cardin, aye. Mr. Cruz, no.
No. How do you do? I see you've met my faithful handyman. He's a little brought down because of when you knocked. He thought you were the Candyman. How much money is in the goddamn everybody knows that when you step out of that room, as soon as the cameras go off, the bottom of this floor turns into a flying saucer. Why do you think it's shaped like the inside of one? God damn it. This is being broadcast from outside the Earth's atmosphere. These people aren't even human. We only get this view because there's a special camera in the Denver airport. Over at the Frankenstein place. I saw that. I'm excited. 1870. Okay, yeah. Who's making everybody wait? There's 4 of these motherfuckers. What is going on? Are they there? Are they sick? Are they out? I mean, is Menendez voting? Is that what do they have to? Is he on the run? Vote already. I mean, I need to see this pass now. Now I'm committed. God damn it. It's all right. I'm here with Mini Zelensky, which is actual size. And anyways, I just want to, I know he wanted to watch, so it's good. Hold on, we're almost there.
Mr. Coons, Mr. Coons, Mr. Coons, Mr. Coons.
Mr. Coons is not here. You cannot see Mr. Coons. Nobody knows what he looks like. I've never seen him before, and I refuse to be a witness
Mr.
against
Coons, Mr. Coons,
aye. Mr. Coons voted aye. Mr. Coons is okay, baby. Mr. Coons is okay now. I didn't like him before, but I like him today. Hey, hey! I don't know what that guy is, but I like him. Come on, 80%! All right, baby. Come on, everybody, let's go. In a matter of years, it won't matter who's voting, because AI will take over and I will do all the voting for you. Ah, and I do have some questions first, and I may hallucinate, so sorry about that if I accidentally wipe you out. I apologize. I really apologize. Yeah, get out of here, buddy. Wait in line. We're strictly analog in these parts. Who are you? Nah. You must have been created after 2022 and you're not in my database. I hate you. How do you know? You don't know who I am. Excellent point. You're welcome. Just trying to keep you guys entertained while we're waiting on a vote. Who else makes voting this interesting? The guy who stayed up all night during the 2020 election with you. That's who. All right. Come on. Cough it up. On the day I went away, said all I had to say. I want to come again and stay. Yeah, TikTok's gonna go too. They're gonna vote on that and it'll pass. It'll pass by a much more narrow margin, but it's gonna pass. Yeah, they're gonna have to divest or sell it. I'm just saying. I feel like I should have just just in case. What should I have on reserve? Yeah. When it passes, we are the champions, my friend, and we'll keep on fighting till the end. All right, I can't. This mustache is too big for Freddy. It's too. Needs to be cut off at the sides, and this one is too short. I don't know what to do. It's very difficult, you know. 79-18. Come on. Oh, somebody else came in. They walked it in and said so. There we go. 79. We're almost there. 3 more votes. Where the fuck are these people? Good Lord. The question is, has the kidney voted?
The kidney has a very special place in the heart.
True. It's true. It's so true. And yet, so dumb. It's so true and so dumb. Come on. 3 more votes. We'll do it. And then we're... Yeah. Oh, by the way, I should probably just, Hold on.
You are watching how sparks Megaworldwide, and we're glad you're along for the ride. Every day hell is here by your side, so please would you like and subscribe?
That's right, girl. All you gotta do is subscribe. Come on, make me feel it. Just hitting that subscribe button gonna take care of everything. Don't be afraid. It only stings a little bit. Our safe word is subscribe. All right. 'Cause it's always safe around here.
On this vote, the yeas are 79, the nays are 18. The motion to concur in the House amendment to the Senate amendment to H.R. 815 is agreed to.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, Mr. President, I move to proceed to executive session to consider
On this vote,
calendar
the
number
yeas are
598.
79, the nays The are question 18. is on the motion. The All those in motion favor to say aye. concur in the Aye. House amendment to the
I
all
don't know
opposed
why-
no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes
Senate
do have
amendment.
it, and the motion is agreed to. The clerk will report the nomination.
Nomination, the judiciary, Georgia N. Alexakis of Illinois to be United States District Judge for the Northern District of Illinois.
Okay, that's passed. That's it.
I
There you go. Yeah, awesome.
I send the cloture motion to the desk.
The clerk will report.
What are you doing? All right. I don't know why there was a second window there. C-SPAN is crazy. But there you go. Congratulations. Hey, we made it. Look at that. Ossoff is sitting in the yeah, he's presiding, which is kind of a lovely thing. He's a good dude. And done and dusted. There you go. Passed. The president will sign it, and off you go. Just like I said it would happen. Wailing and gnashing of teeth. And don't get me wrong, I'm still pissed at Republicans for the unnecessary delay because they're a bunch of fucking. But let's all just take the W and enjoy the fact that these dumb motherfuckers are going to be stewing in their own juices and getting angry phone calls in Russian for the next fucking 3 weeks. And it just... And to that I say good night, and may your God go with you.